If you like the story, you can support the author on Patreon. Link is in the description.
Chapter 126, Someone's in for it. Chaz collapsed on the ground, suit disheveled, eyes blank, his expression dazed. He'd lost again. He'd prepared so much, gained new power, and even felt pretty confident before coming here today. But in the end, the result didn't seem much different from before. If the first time he met Kira at the Moonlight Cup could be blamed on underestimating him or bad luck, this time he didn't even have an excuse to convince himself. Standing opposite, Kira was already putting away his duel disc, still carrying that casual attitude. Throughout the whole duel, Chaz never felt the sharp edge of fighting spirit you'd expect in a duel, nor any sense of tension. It made Chaz feel once again like he was just a background character. His fists clenched unconsciously. Well then, congratulations to Kira for winning this year's Freshman Cup, the Busta-senpai stepped forward with a smile. As this year's Club Rookie of the Year, is there anything you'd like to say to the club? Kira thought for a moment and replied casually, I'm not much of a speaker. So, I just hope everyone can continue to enjoy dueling together. As soon as he said this, those students who'd played against him before all shuddered instinctively, as if their bodies were reacting on their own. By now, the new students in the club had reached a consensus. Watching this guy duel is fun, but playing against him yourself? No thanks. Turns out, the joy of dueling is built on someone else's pain. Kira had wanted to comfort Chaz after the duel. He'd performed pretty well after all, but now looked like he was about to have a breakdown. But when Kira turned around, Chaz was already gone. He could only shelve the thought for now. Hopefully, Chaz was okay. Beating Chaz with VWXYZ left Kira feeling strange. It was like the protagonist committing a crime right under the victim's nose and the victim didn't even know it. Still, from how things were going, he had a feeling Chaz's evolution was only beginning. This duel featured both Light End Dragon and Dark End Dragon, but not the famous Light and Darkness Dragon, known for its half-black, half-white design. Card players joked it looked like a panda. In the original, Panda Dragon also had a spirit and a powerful one at that. It was Chaz's ace. Of course, in the anime world line, Chaz's signature spirit was the Ojima Trio, which instantly made things a lot more comedic. Chaz first met Ojima Yellow after a crushing defeat and deciding to leave Duel Academy. He was shipwrecked at sea, and then the headmaster of the North Academy gave him Ojima Yellow. Now, even though the timeline was different, Chaz seemed to be heading toward a similar depression. If he left the academy at this point, it wouldn't be surprising. But for him personally, maybe that wasn't a bad thing. Without those experiences, he might never have improved. For now, though, it didn't concern Kira. He claimed his club tournament reward points and, led by the Busta-senpai, headed to the club's card stock room. Which card should he pick? There weren't many cards he wanted, but there were a few that could be useful, mostly general-purpose ones. For example, one that caught his eye immediately. Spell Canceller. Level 5, ATK 1800. Effect: as long as this card is face-up on the field, spell cards cannot be activated, and all spell card effects on the field are negated. This was the monster used by Alistair, one of the Doma 3 swordsmen, in the DM anime. It immediately made Kira think of an ancient meta deck, Ojima Canceller. The name says it all, the deck revolved around Ojima and Spell Canceller. Ojimas were famous for locking down the opponent's field, while Spell Canceller countered the overpowered spell cards that ran rampant in the meta at the time: Pot of Greed, Card Destruction, Riggi, Heavy Storm. In the face of Spell Canceller, all were equal. Back then, most banned spell cards were must-haves in every deck, and running into Spell Canceller often meant your best spells got stuck in hand, unusable. Of course, Spell Canceller's attack was only 1800, its main weakness. But the Ojima cards could cover that, blocking the opponent from summoning monsters, or using Gravity Bind and other lockdown back rows to create a total lock. The opponent couldn't attack or play spells, and could only watch helplessly as they lost. In short, this was a pure stall and lockdown deck, the pioneer for countless future anti-social deck builders. So, with respect for these pioneers, Kira decisively picked out several components for an Ojima Canceller deck. The whole deck wasn't expensive. Most of the cards, including Ojimas, were dirt cheap in this world. Only the Spell Canceller was rare, but the club just happened to have one available, along with 2 rare traps. So Kira put together a top-tier vintage deck that suited his style, and for almost no cost. Especially in the anime world, the Ojima trio had an inherent taunt factor. Their attack animation involved jumping up and butt-bumping the opponent. Kira could already imagine how much fun his future opponents would have facing this ancient anti-social meta deck. Alright, I'll take these. Kira happily collected his chosen cards. The Busta senpai checked his picks, a question mark practically appearing on her forehead. You're sure you just want these? Yup. Kira grinned. She looked at him strangely. She thought the club stock had some pretty impressive high-level monsters, all rare cards. Usually, when members won the chance to pick a rare card, they'd go for the expensive, powerful high-level monsters. Yet Kira's only pick above level 4 was Spell Canceller, and at level 5 it only had 1800 ATK. While its spell lockdown effect is good, most people think 1800 for a level 5 is just not enough. Plus, Kira's Ojima cards were ones he'd bought himself earlier, so what he picked now were just random deck parts, making his choices even harder for outsiders to understand. But the Busta senpai knew this underclassman always had ideas no one else could imagine, so she didn't try to persuade him. Still, as she packed Kira's chosen cards into a box and handed it over, she couldn't help but ask, Kira-kun, can I ask if you are developing some new strategy with these cards? You've got good intuition, senpai, Kira replied cheerfully. Can you tell me what it is? She just couldn't hold back her curiosity. Kira smiled at her for a moment. Want to know? I do. She nodded fervently. She wanted to know so bad. Then make sure you watch next week's tag duel. Kira put away the card box, smiling. You'll see for yourself. With that, he waved goodbye and left. Busta senpai stomped her foot in frustration, her bosom tremble a little. He just had to keep her in suspense. Now she was even more curious. But as for next week's tag duel, she had a sudden premonition. It looked like another unlucky pair was about to get completely steamrolled. Chapter 127, You call this copying? Is this a scientific breakthrough? Kira-kun, you are calm. Professor Lyman sat in his alchemy lab, cuddling his cat Pharaoh in his arms, absent-mindedly stroking the chubby feline. Since joining Duel Academy, Lyman just coasted along. The lab was supposed to be a resource from the academy, but it had mostly just gathered dust for years. After all, his persona in the academy was that of a lazy slacker, and he kept that up for both students and faculty. No one had ever seen him do actual research, this lab was as good as abandoned. Until now. When Kira first opened the door, he was met with the smell of mildew. The floor was covered in dust, sunlight filtered through the cracks in the glass, particles of dust dancing in the light. Kira spent a little time cleaning up, and since then he'd made the lab his own. What? Kira, busy at the lab bench, looked up. The tag duel, of course. Lyman tilted his head, still stroking his cat. You don't seem nervous at all. Oh, that? Nothing to be nervous about. Kira continued working as he talked. Besides, Jaden doesn't seem nervous either, Kira added. I invited him yesterday to help research decks for the tag duel, but he turned me down. Said, something about Chumley's dad coming to visit? Anyway, he was busy. Kira vaguely remembered that storyline. Chumley's father thought his son was wasting his time at the academy and wanted him to drop out. Then Chumley dueled his dad, and even though he lost, he convinced him to let him stay. Chumley's dad used some drunken deck, another never released, totally mysterious archetype. According to Lyman, Chumley's dad was supposedly the inheritor of the Satsuma dimensional style, a world-famous duelist with a one-hit kill technique. But judging by the anime, his deck didn't seem that great. Kira found it odd. The so-called world-class duelists didn't always live up to the hype, but then again, maybe you couldn't judge so easily. After all, in the anime, Chumley's dad only summoned 2 monsters, the rest of the deck was a mystery. Maybe he went easy on his son. Over the years, Konami had proven that any old archetype could become meta-defining with a few overpowered new support cards. You can't underestimate world-renowned duelists. Jaden is just different. Lyman laughed. That kid has a natural talent, there's not much that can make him nervous. But I've heard rumors your tag duel opponents might not be so simple. Got any countermeasures? More or less? Kira smiled. He already had a bold plan. If all went well, with a little help from Jaden's top decking skills, they'd bring double the fun to the Paradox brothers. But anyway, I'm done here. Kira stood up and handed a card to Lyman. Professor, Please give me some feedback. Lyman took the card and adjusted his glasses. Let's see. Kira hadn't been studying card creation for long. Though he'd shown talent and had Lyman's private lessons, his skills were still at the copying stage. That meant trying to reproduce relatively easy, low-rarity cards. Once he had that down, he could try more advanced creations. Lyman glanced at the card. This time you tried making parapsychroid, hey. I heard you like this one. Not bad, you managed to copy it already. Wait. Lyman's eyes almost popped open, his glasses nearly slipping off his nose. Because he saw the effect on Kira's parapsychroid card. This card can attack directly. Wait, wasn't there supposed to be a lose 500 ATK clause? He looked at Kira in shock, only now realizing what had happened. You just copy, and you made a scientific breakthrough? Kira just smiled. He'd just proven a theory he'd always suspected was true. Many older Yu-Gi-Oh! Fans know that in the anime, the same card sometimes had contradictory effects in different episodes. A classic example, Jinzo. In DM, Jinzo's effect was while this card is on the field, all face-down and face-up trap cards are destroyed, and their activation and effects are negated. But in GX, Jinzo appeared twice, both times with its real card effect, trap cards cannot be activated, and their effects are negated, but it didn't destroy all set traps. Or Future Fusion when Zane used it, and later when Night Shroud's henchman Truman used it, the effect was different. There are countless similar examples. As a viewer, you just laughed at the inconsistency. But now, in the real Yu-Gi-Oh! World, Kira couldn't be satisfied with that explanation, especially after learning about the card creation process. He had a new idea. As he'd learned, you couldn't just write whatever effect you wanted, a card's abilities were the manifestation of its power. So maybe, when creating the same card, one designer only awakened part of its power, while another unlocked more potential. So naturally, two designers' versions of the same card would be different in power. Or maybe some cards had hidden potential that no one had ever tapped into, and reworking them could bring out more. He'd been experimenting with this ever since starting Lyman's card printing lessons. And it looked like he was right. For example, after persistent testing, he found that Parapsychroid, not even a particularly strong card, was easy to improve. Removing the lose 500 ATK restriction, it wasn't a huge power boost, but it proved his theory. Those anime cards weaker than real-life versions had room for improvement. Amazing! Lyman adjusted his glasses, his eyes glinting. Losing 500 ATK on the Parapsychroid wasn't a big deal, but this was a research breakthrough. For a student to produce results at the beginner stage of card creation, even Lyman was impressed. Is this what being a genius means? You might have a talent for alchemy, you know. Professor exaggerates. I'm just following your teaching and putting my heart into the cards. Kira replied cheerfully. But honestly, it was mostly because he knew which direction to try. Most people didn't even know which cards had hidden potential, let alone how to improve them. Oh, Professor, I also tried making some other cards. Kira quietly produced a few more cards. Look, I've got two more that are a little different from other people's. Lyman. More? Even well-traveled Lyman was left speechless. After a while, he finally looked up and said. Kira. Yes, Professor. Have you considered applying for a faculty position? Chapter 128, The Next Generation is Terrifying. One of the cards Kira handed over was Carbonedon. It was a cheap card, and Kira had remembered it from Pierre the Gambler's duel, so he used it for testing. In the anime, Carbonedon's effect was, if it's in the graveyard and there are at least 10 cards stacked above it, you can banish it to special summon Hyazen Ryu from your hand or graveyard. But Hyazen Ryu is just a 2100 ATK vanilla, the condition is annoying, and you can only summon from hand or graveyard. It's not very useful. But with the upgraded real card effect, the stack 10 cards requirement is gone. Now, you can banish Carbonedon from the graveyard to summon any level 7 or lower dragon-type normal monster, and not just from hand or graveyard, but even from your deck, a huge upgrade. The other card was the ritual spell Machine Angel Ritual. The first effect was standard, tribute monsters from your hand or field until their total levels equal or exceed the ritual monsters to ritual summon it, same as in the original. But after some experimentation, Kira managed to add a hidden second effect. If one of your light monsters on the field would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. This added a layer of destruction protection, a great boost for Alexis Cyber Angel deck. When he first thought of upgrading anime cards, Kira immediately thought of Cyber Angels. First, the Academy sold pre-built decks for it, and second, it was the best example of a deck that got massively powered up in the real card game. If you developed it along the real card line, it could leap ahead by a whole generation. Of course, what he wanted to try was Cyber Angel Benton. In the real game, Benton's effect, when tribute, search for any light fairy, is meta-defining. But after a few tries, Kira realized that monsters were harder to upgrade than spells/traps, and the higher the level and stronger the monster, the harder it was. So, he only managed to upgrade the ritual spell. But that was enough to shock Professor Lyman. Wow, I never expected Kira to be a genius not only at dueling but also at research. Lyman quickly recovered, adjusting his glasses and squinting again. He stroked his cat and said, just these results could make for several great research papers. I'm jealous I haven't produced any results at all since joining the academy, haha. Kira smiled. There he goes again, pretending to be a clueless rookie. But he let it slide, replying, it's all thanks to your guidance, Professor. I was wondering, do you think I could apply for my lab and build a research team? Oh. Lyman raised an eyebrow. He tilted his head and thought for a moment. Well, there's never been a student in academy history who's done that. But with your results, even the research department would be shocked. There's no reason they'd refuse. Lyman smiled slyly. Duel Academy did have graduate students after finishing the high division. You could go to graduate school and maybe become a professor. In the last season of GX, Alexis even considered this path. Doing research requires resources, funding, and manpower. Kira knew that, although his knowledge let him predict the potential of many cards, he was still new to card creation and had limited energy. If he could get his own lab, with the academy funding and resources, he'd save time and money and greatly increase his efficiency. As Kira left the alchemy lab, Banner stroked his cat, gazing after him until he was out of sight. Then he smiled. The next generation is amazing, hey, Pharaoh. Pharaoh, meow. 2 days before the tag duel, Kira finally synced up decks with Jaden. Jaden, put this in your deck. Kira handed Jaden a card. Jaden looked at it, confused. What the heck is this? Jaden hesitated, but this doesn't fit my heroes. Kira squinted at him. What are you afraid of? You never brick anyway. But seeing Jaden still reluctant, Kira patiently explained his strategy and thought process. At first, Jaden nodded in confusion, but as Kira kept talking, his expression grew more and more excited, his eyes lighting up. Hey? You can duel like that? Jaden exclaimed. That sounds so fun. Right. Kira grinned. Sure enough, Jaden was the type who just loved dueling. As long as it sounded fun or new, he'd always play along. Alright, I got it. Jaden happily took the card. Let's surprise everybody with our perfect teamwork. Ha ha ha, I can't wait to see their faces. Yeah. Kira smiled. Oh, and don't forget that after the duel. Jaden blinked. What? Your catchphrase, Kira said, you know, that was a fun duel. I'm sure by the end, even our opponents will feel the joy of dueling. Oh, right, haha, can't forget that. Jaden laughed. Kira nodded, yep, you got a duel with a smile. Exactly. Jaden found Kira more and more likable. I always thought we'd get along. My intuition is never wrong. Right. As the sun set, the sky burned orange-red like fire at the horizon. The two of them sat side by side on the hill, their shadows stretched long by the evening glow. Chapter 129, The Paradox Brothers. The day of the tag team duel had arrived. Although it was labeled a punishment duel, word had spread throughout the academy, drawing a sizable, curious crowd. Many idle students came specifically to watch, and all the teachers and administrators had gathered as well. Kira and Jaden were already somewhat famous among this year's freshmen, especially among students who had previously fought them. Whether out of a desire to learn or just for entertainment, no one wanted to miss today's duel. The only person looking sour was Professor Crowlier, who had originally proposed this game. That was because the perennial underachiever, Cirrus Truesdale, whom Crowlier had handpicked to get kicked out alongside Jaden, had been replaced. Crowlier watched Kira and Jaden walk up to the stage, his face set in a perpetual grimace. Given the way things were unexpectedly playing out, even if the pair lost, it was unlikely the problem students would actually be expelled. So what had he gone through all this trouble for? Why orchestrate this duel and even invite big shots to spectate? On the stands, Chaz watched the pair head to the field, unconsciously clenching his fists until veins bulged on his forehead. Damn it, both of them at once, number 1 and 2 on my list of people I must defeat. He gritted his teeth. This should have been my duel. Both of them, no, all of them should be my opponents to defeat. His minion B looked puzzled. Hey? But boss, you couldn't beat either of them one-on-one. If they team up, won't you just get completely thrashed mmm? Before he could finish, minion A quickly covered his mouth. But it was too late, Chaz's sore spot had been hit, and he glared at the two fiercely. Humph! He scowled. Just wait one day, Chaz will pin them all under his feet. He would become the new king of this academy. All right, looks like the students are ready, Chancellor Shepard said, rubbing his hands in anticipation. Professor Crowlier, please call in your duelists. Ahem, of course. Crowlier took the microphone. This time, I've specially invited experts with deep experience in tag team dueling. Take a look. As he finished, two bald men emerged from the crowd. They each did a series of acrobatic flips onto the stage, landing back-to-back in a flashy display. One had Para written on his forehead, the other Dox. We are the Wandering Guardians, the Paradox Brothers. The bald duo announced, arms crossed, faces brimming with confidence. We have no grudge against you, we're just here for a full power battle. If you defeat us, the path ahead will open. The arena erupted in surprise. Those are, the legendary duelists. A student exclaimed, jumping up. That's right. The Paradox Brothers once dueled the king of games himself, Yugi Muto, Crowlier declared. They're tag team duel specialists. The entire student body was stunned. A punishment duel in which their opponents turned out to be legendary duelists. How outrageous! I've heard of them, Alexis said. Supposedly, even the king of games struggled against them. Indeed, Misawa added, furrowing his brow and glancing at Kira and Jaden on the field. I've also heard that Kira once defeated a legendary duelist before coming to the academy. If they can surpass legends, I'd love to see it for myself, Misawa muttered. Jaden, meanwhile, was wide-eyed. It's them. The real deal. We get to duel against legends, how awesome is that? Haha, it's not bad, Kira chuckled. How much weight fought against the king of games actually carried was debatable. When they faced Yugi, it was back in the duelist kingdom, with a maze-based duel and different rules. Not necessarily the best reference point. Don't get too excited, remember our strategy, Kira reminded him. Jaden nodded enthusiastically. I remember. With all four duelists in place, Crowlier stepped into the center with the mic. Each team shares 8,000 LP, and both the field and graveyard zones are shared. Neither team can attack in their first turn. Now then, if everyone is ready. Crowlier sliced his arm down. Tag team duel begin. He hurriedly jumped off the stage. Duel. X4. Kira and Jaden, LP 8000. Paradox Brothers, LP 8000. I'll go first, draw, said the elder Paradox brother. I summon Jiregumo. Turn end. Jiregumo, ATK 2200. An opening move identical to their anime debut. Jaden, whoa, straight away with a 2200 ATK monster. Misawa raised an eyebrow in the stands. Jiregumo has high ATK for a 4-star, but when attacking, you have to toss a coin. If you guess wrong, your LP gets halved before the attack continues, a risky side effect. As a first turn field presence, it's good, but... Alexis, but... nothing. It's just that next turn, it's Kira's move. If the opening is handled so simply, they might not get another easy chance. Alexis quickly caught his meaning and nodded. True. Only those who dueled Kira understood how much of a luxury it was to have the first turn against him, with no interference. The legendary duelists had wasted such a golden opportunity by summoning just one monster. They'd soon realize how wasteful that was. Kira, my turn, draw. I activate the spell card Pot of Greed to draw 2 cards from my deck. He then revealed a monster card. I summon Ojima Yellow in defense position. A thick-lipped, golden-yellow creature leaped onto the field, sporting a bright red pair of briefs. The Paradox brothers frowned at the oddball monster. What's with this pointless-looking weakling? Ojima. Even students familiar with Kira were taken aback. The Ojima series was common but generally considered weak. However, experience had taught them that anything in Kira's hands was not to be underestimated. What strange tactic would it be this time? Kira set 3 cards in his back row. I set 3 cards face down. Turn end. A classic 3 set as a greeting. Alexis and Misawa exchanged knowing looks, while the RA Yellow dorm students looked on in anticipation. But the Paradox brothers, being outsiders, didn't yet understand the gravity of the situation. Paradox brother, younger, my turn, draw. I'll use this card. He revealed a spell card, its hologram gleaming gold on the field. Spell card Tribute Doll. I tribute 1 monster on my field to special summon a level 7 monster from my hand, but it can't attack this turn. He glanced at his brother and smiled. Big bro, I'll need to borrow your monster. The elder brother laughed. No need to be polite, go ahead. Okay, I tribute Big Bro's Jiregumo to special summon one of our ace monsters from my hand. Guardian of the Wind, appear Kazejin. A green whirlwind shot up, and a green demon with wind emblazoned on his chest appeared, muscular arms flexing. Kazejin, ATK 2400. The brother posed, arms crossed. Kazejin. One of our 3 ace monsters, with unmatched. I activate a face-down trap card, bottomless trap hole, Kira interrupted. When a monster with 1500 or more ATK is summoned, destroy and banish it. A pit opened up, swallowing the green demon before he could finish his boast. The brother froze mid-pose. Not bad, he coughed, trying to maintain his legendary aura. Next, I activate spell card Dark Designator. I declare a monster name, and if your deck contains that monster, you add it to your hand. Jaden was shocked. Wait, you declare the opponent's card? No, Kira explained. In tag team duels, your teammate can also be treated as an opponent. Really? The brother laughed. Exactly. So the card I'll declare is... He pointed at his elder brother. Sujin. The elder brother smiled. What luck, I happen to have Sujin in my deck. Thanks, little bro. By the effect, I add Sujin to my hand. He showed the card, then added it to his hand. In the stands, Misawa frowned. They're cleverly using the tag format's rule that teammates can be treated as opponents. Using a teammate's deck for precise searches built for tag duels, Alexis said, worried. These 2 are formidable. I hope Kira and Jaden will be okay. The brothers both raised their arms. Elder brother, let us. Younger brother, show you. Both, the true essence of tag team dueling. Incredible, using the rules like that. Kira praised. Now, I activate trap card Mind Crush. I declare a card name. If the declared card is in your hand, you must discard it. If not, I discard a random card from my hand. The Paradox brothers' faces changed. Nanny. Mind Crush once a staple in the real card meta. Early on, it wasn't popular, but as Yu-Gi-Oh! Environments sped up and search effects became common, its value rose. Back in Kira's dueling days, this card was as essential as a must-have counter for search-heavy decks in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And in early meta, decks weren't as resilient as modern ones, losing a key search to Mind Crush could shut you down. The card's name, Mind Crush, was apt. Getting hit with it really could break your mentality. Kira, let's see. I'll declare Sujin. The brothers exchanged glances and gritted their teeth. The elder brother revealed the freshly searched Sujin and tossed it to the graveyard. What luck, just happened to have Sujin in your hand, Kira said, mimicking the brothers' earlier tone. Such good luck. On the brothers' bald heads, anger veins popped up. Their rage meter was building. Chapter 130, Gate Guardian. I haven't performed my normal summon this turn, the younger Paradox brother said, drawing another card. I summon Kaiser Seahorse in attack position. Kaiser Seahorse, ATK 1700. Then I set a card face down. Turn end. He ended the turn with a cold face. He was beginning to realize he'd underestimated these students. He'd accepted the commission thinking this was just a punishment duel against 2 freshmen not worth worrying about. But even before the battle had truly begun, the brothers' 3 ace monsters had already lost 2-1 to the graveyard, 1 banished. That was rare in their tag dueling experience. The brothers exchanged a glance, instantly understanding each other's thoughts. This duel might not be so easy after all. Of course, losing was impossible at most, it'd just take more effort. They were legends who dueled against Yugi Muto. To lose to two freshmen would be a joke. Jaden's turn, my turn, draw. I activate the spell card Pot of Greed to draw 2 cards from my deck. I set a monster, then set 2 cards face down. Turn end. As in the anime, the Academy's tag rules were that no one could attack on their first turn. Only after all 4 players had completed their first turns could the battle phase begin. Many spectators held their breath. The real fight would begin now. My turn, draw, said the elder brother. I activate the spell card Monster Reincarnation. He discarded a card. Monster Reincarnation lets me discard a card to add a monster from my graveyard to my hand. I'll retrieve the Sujin discarded by Mind Crush. Sujin's phantom shimmered, ready to return from the graveyard, but before he could act, Jaden interrupted. Not a chance. I activate my face-down trap card Hero Rule Number 1, 5 Freedoms. Anime card. Up to 5 cards in both graveyards are banished. The brothers' faces changed again. What did you say? So, I banish Sujin, Tribute Doll, Jiregumo, and Dark Designator from your graveyard. Jaden declared. A vortex opened, banishing Sujin's phantom, and sending it straight to another dimension. And with that, their entire graveyard was emptied in one go. Now, Monster Reincarnation lost its target and fizzled, leaving the brothers short 2 cards. Another anger vein popped on his bald head. Misawa looked conflicted from the stands. Nicely handled, but... He hesitated. Alexis, you mean that's a bit unlike his usual style? Probably just my imagination, Misawa shook his head, not wanting to elaborate. What else could he say? Maybe bad company does rub off on people? Still, it was fun watching legendary duelists get frustrated. To think you'd take out 2 of our ace monsters so quickly, I have to give you some credit, the elder brother said. But if you think it'll be that easy, you're underestimating us. He glanced at his brother. This time, I'll use your monster. No problem, big brother. Kaiser Seahorse's effect, when used as tribute for a light monster, it counts as 2 tributes. So, I tribute Kaiser Seahorse as 2 tributes to tribute summon. Kaiser Seahorse split into 2 beams of light, merging into a storm on the field. Lightning flashed, and a golden thunder demon appeared. Sanga of the Thunder summon. Sanga of the Thunder, ATK 2600. And I'm not done. The elder brother shouted. I'll borrow another of your cards. Go for it, big bro. The younger brother replied. The elder brother, I activate my brother's face-down spell card Dimension Fusion. I pay 2000 LP, both sides special summon as many of their banished monsters as possible. Paradox Brothers, LP 8000 6000. The students gasped. Only our monsters are banished, only we get to summon. The elder brother laughed. Return from another dimension. Appear now Sujin. Kazejin. A wind and water storm erupted as the green and blue demons reappeared, each with wind, water, and thunder on their chests, forming a tricolored wall. Sanga of the Thunder, ATK 2600. Sujin, ATK 2500. Kazejin, ATK 2400. All 3 ace monsters, summoned at once. A student exclaimed, they summoned all 3 ace monsters. As expected of legendary duelists, Misawa said gravely. Angering them has only made them attack harder. The elder brother, battle phase. First, Kazejin attacks that wall monster Ojima Yellow. Kazejin swept his hands, conjuring a dark storm. Wind blades slashed at the defending monster. Ojima Yellow, Def 1000. Poor Ojima Yellow was instantly destroyed. Kira, I activate the face-down trap Ojima Mob. When your face-up Ojima monster is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, shuffle it back into the deck. The destroyed monster turned into golden light and flew back into the deck, which then auto-shuffled. The effect also lets me draw 2 cards, then discard 1. Kira drew and discarded a card. I discarded Ojamagic. The graveyard zone glowed, and the spell card popped out. Ojamagic, when sent from hand or field to the graveyard, add 1 each of Ojima Green, Yellow, and Black from deck to hand. 3 cards popped out, and the deck reshuffled. Even if you get all those weak monsters, what's the point? The elder brother scoffed. Attack continues. Sujin attacks your face-down monster. This time, Jaden's set monster was revealed a fluffy, white-winged ball. Kuri. Winged Kuraba, Def 200. The small Kuraba was destroyed but released a protective energy shield. Jaden, Winged Kuraba's effect. When it's destroyed, all battle damage I take this turn becomes 0. Damage nullified? Fine, then battle phase ends. The elder brother raised his hand. Now, behold our ultimate ace. I tribute Sangha, Kazejin, and Sujin. The three monsters vanished in beams of lightning, wind, and water, merging their energies. When the power of the three guardians unite, the eternal protector appears. Come forth our ace card Gate Guardian. The combined monster thundered onto the field, with thunder, wind, and water glowing on its body. Gate Guardian, ATK 3750. PS, read advanced chapters at patreon.com/absolutecode. Chapter 131, The Lockdown Forms. Gate Guardian, ATK 3750. This is the crystallization of our power, the strongest guardian formed by the union of the three demons. The elder brother declared. Indeed, now that Gate Guardian is here, you have no chance. The younger brother added. To be fair, the monster's sense of pressure was immense, its huge size and aura were overwhelming. Of course, Kira knew that in GX, this was just a big beater, an underdeveloped card with untapped potential. Still, in its day, Gate Guardian did have some merits. For instance, it had the highest ATK among warrior types, and until Yubel appeared, it was the only level 11 monster higher than the Egyptian gods, who were only level 10. The elder brother, I set a card face down. Turn end. Jaden stared at Gate Guardian, then turned excitedly to Kira. That looks incredible. We can't lose to them, Kira. Of course. My turn, draw, Kira said. I activate the spell card of adversity. If the opponent controls a special summoned monster and I control none, I draw 2 cards. Anime card. Kira drew and then played another card. I activate Ojima Ride. By sending Ojima Green, Yellow, and Black from my hand to the graveyard, I special summon 3 level 4 or lower Machine Union monsters from my deck Indiana defense position. Anime card. This world's Ojima deck included many support cards used by Chaz in the anime, enabling unique plays. He revealed 3 cards. Special summon X Head Cannon, Y Dragon Head, and Z Metal Tank. X Head Cannon, Def 1500. Y Dragon Head, Def 1600. Z Metal Tank, Def 1300. These monsters can't change positions but can combine. Combine X Head Cannon, Y Dragon Head, Z Metal Tank. The 3 mechs merged into the fully armed XYZ Dragon Cannon. XYZ Dragon Cannon, summoned. XYZ Dragon Cannon, ATK 2800. Oh, summoning such a powerhouse in one go. The younger brother frowned. I remember its effect, it can discard cards to destroy any on the field. Quite troublesome. If Gate Guardian gets locked down, that'll be tough, the elder brother said. So I activate my face down trap card Reggi Break. Discard a card to destroy a card on the field. He discarded a card. XYZ Dragon Cannon, destroyed. A dark cloud loomed, lightning struck, and the cannon exploded. Jaden, too bad. That was such a powerful monster. It's fine, Kira said calmly. Next, I activate Ojimandala from my hand. I pay 1000 LP to special summon Ojima Green, Black, and Yellow from my graveyard. Anime card, featured in several video games. Kira and Jaden, LP 8000 7000. I revive the Ojima trio. Ojima Green, Def 1000. Ojima Yellow, Def 1000. Ojima Black, Def 1000. The younger brother, TCH, weak monsters again, but so persistent. But summoning more weaklings is pointless, the elder brother said. More walls just waste time. Not necessarily. Kira smiled, drawing another card. Don't underestimate the possibilities of weaklings. I activate Ojima Delta Hurricane, from my hand. If I control green, yellow, and black, destroy all opponents' cards. The brothers, Nanny. The 3 goofy little monsters jumped up, stuck their triangle-pantied butts together, and spun like a tornado. A tricolor storm surged, instantly shredding Gate Guardian. Their eyes went red. Impossible. Their ultimate monster, the invincible Gate Guardian, destroyed by 3 joke monsters. And with such a taunting move. Next, I activate White Elephant's gift. I send a non-effect monster to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. I send Ojima Black and draw. He drew, saw a certain card, and smiled. Here it comes. Kira, I set 2 cards face down. Turn end. At that moment, the brothers noticed Kira and Jaden exchanged a look. Jaden gave Kira a thumbs up, Kira nodded. Jaden seemed to receive some secret message, looking pleased. The brothers had a bad feeling. But the duel continued, so they pushed their doubts aside. Younger brother, my turn, draw. At this moment, Kira said, flipping a card. I activate the trap Ojima Trio. Special summon 3 Ojima tokens to your field in defense position. 3 tokens appeared on the brothers' field, 1 snoring butt up, 1 sipping tea, 1 reading a newspaper. Ojima token, def 1000x3. The brothers. What's this, just giving us resources for free? And another trap Ojima duo. Kira flipped another. Special summon 2 more Ojima tokens to your field. Ojima token, def 1000x2. Ojima tokens can't be tribute for tribute summons, Kira explained. And when destroyed, each inflicts 300 damage to their controller. The brothers seemed to understand. Ha ha ha, so it's a field lockdown tactic. The elder brother laughed. If you fill all 5 monster zones with tokens, the opponent can't summon monsters, a strong tactic, but you seem to forget that in tag duels, both players' fields are shared, so we have 10 monster zones. Using this lockdown strategy shows you don't know tag duels well. Not quite, Kira smiled. It's precisely because it's a tag duel that, with a teammate's help, the lock can be even stronger than usual. Exactly. Jaden grinned. Now, witness the ultimate lockdown powered by our bond. I activate my face-down continuous trap Spatial Collapse. This card can only be activated when both sides have 5 or fewer cards on the field. While it's active, no one can control more than 5 cards on the field. Chapter 132, Death by 1,000 Cuts. The smiles on the Paradox brothers' faces froze instantly. It took them several seconds to register the gravity of the situation. Then, their expressions shifted in a flash from stunned to shocked, and their facial muscles twisted into wildly exaggerated reactions. Nanny. Spatial collapse? What did that mean? Their opponents had just dumped 5 disgusting tokens onto their field and then told them that neither side could have more than 5 cards on the field at once. Didn't that mean they couldn't play any more cards at all? And it wasn't just about being unable to summon monsters, even spells and traps counted as cards on the field. Whether it was a spell like Dark Hole to clear the field, or Mystical Space Typhoon or Heavy Storm to clear the back row, they all needed to be played onto the field to activate. But with the 5-card limit, it meant they couldn't summon, activate spells, or set traps. All they could do was stare helplessly at the 5 ugly, annoying tokens snoring, snacking, and reading the newspaper on their side of the field. Plus, the tokens can't be tribute as a restriction, so they couldn't even tribute summon to clear up zones. There was no way out. The spectators all gasped at the scene, even the students familiar with Kira's style were shocked. Even by scumbag standards, this lock was on a whole new level of nastiness. The Paradox brothers' faces went slack as they grasped the cruel reality. They almost wanted to tell Kira, dueling like this isn't right. To make it worse, the Ojima tokens even had animated performances. The yellow token leisurely sipped its tea, let out a sigh, and said with a smile, "Ah, it is comfortable here." Green token, "Oh dear, sorry for taking up your space." Yellow token, "Haha, the horoscope here is great, I'm very comfortable." Black token, "ZZZ, ZZZ." Paradox brothers. All right, it's my turn. Jaden, having discovered a new world of dueling, was thoroughly enjoying himself. First, I activate the spell White Elephant's Gift. I tribute the normal monster Ojima Green Kira left for me and draw 2 cards from my deck. He tribute Ojima Green and drew 2 cards. Next, I activate the spell card Polymerization. I fuse Elemental Hero Burstinatrix and Elemental Hero Clayman from my hand. Fusion summon, the defender with a cannon Elemental Hero Rampart Blaster. A heavily armored female gunner landed on Jaden's field, crouched with a shield in her left hand and a rocket launcher braced behind it. Elemental Hero Rampart Blaster, def 2500. Rampart Blaster's effect. While it's in defense position, it can have its ATK to attack the opponent directly. Paradox Brothers, Nandatu, what did you say? So, I have Rampart Blaster's ATK and attack directly. Rampart Blaster, ATK 2000-1000. Rockets fired off, explosions ringing out across the brothers' field. Paradox Brothers, Oahu. Paradox Brothers, LP 6000-5000. The legendary brothers were now visibly trembling. Rampart Blaster was indeed a rare hero with a peculiar effect, it could attack directly while defending, something almost never seen in the early Yu-Gi-Oh! Pool. But that was all it was peculiar. Normally, the Paradox Brothers wouldn't care about such an effect. But in this situation, it was terrifying. With spatial collapse in effect, they couldn't play cards or summon monsters. Their only chance was to wait for their opponents to summon monsters, then crash their tokens into them to clear up monster zones. Although the tokens had 0 ATK, and suiciding them would cause them massive damage, it was their only way out. If they could get rid of one, they'd have 4 tokens left, and could finally play a card. Then, with something like Typhoon to blow away spatial collapse, or Dark Hole to destroy the tokens, they could break free. But their opponents had summoned a hero that could attack directly while in defense position. Attacking into a defense monster with a token would just cost them LP, not clear a monster zone. The brothers' faces twisted with pain, and they looked at Jaden's hero as if it were a demon from hell. Aren't heroes supposed to battle head-on, with bright and direct showdowns? Why the hell is your hero this disgusting? The Paradox Brothers, completely unable to play cards, could only stare helplessly as it passed to Kira's turn. Kira, I normal summon Inaba White Rabbit. Inaba White Rabbit, ATK 700. Inaba White Rabbit's effect: this card can attack directly even if the opponent controls monsters. Kira smiled. I'll use both Jaden's Rampart Blaster and my White Rabbit to attack directly. Ugh. Another round of damage right to the face. Paradox Brothers, LP 5000, 4300, 3300. Damn brats. The elder brother grit his teeth. But at least their opponents had summoned a new monster. Although Inaba White Rabbit only had 700 ATK, the tokens had 0 ATK. If next turn they crashed a token into the White Rabbit. Inaba White Rabbit is a spirit monster. At the end of the turn it's summoned or flipped, it returns to the owner's hand. Kira calmly returned the White Rabbit to his hand. Elder brother. Younger brother. So, all they could do was watch with wide eyes as, each turn, Kira and Jaden's Rampart Blaster and White Rabbit took turns pounding them. Such a bizarre duel. The students, professors, and experts in the academy had never seen anything like it. No, this couldn't even be called a duel anymore. The moment spatial collapse resolved, the match was already decided. What followed was just death by 1,000 cuts. For the first time in their lives, the Paradox Brothers painfully wondered why tag duels had 8,000 LP. This was torture. Finally. Paradox Brothers, LP 0. After one last round of face beating, the brothers collapsed on the ground, eyes vacant, but with a hint of relief in their expressions. At last, it was over. Chapter 133, The Potential of Cards. The Paradox Brothers left with wails of despair. Even as they were being escorted off campus, they were still in a daze. Maybe, even to the end, they were still thinking. How could anyone duel in such a despicable way? Duel Academy students? First-year freshmen? What a cosmic joke! If they had a choice, they would rather face Yami Yugi and Wheeler again. Sure, they might get instantly KO'd, but at least that would be quick and clean, not dragged out and humiliated like this. Especially that jellyfish-haired kid, who even jumped in front of them after the match and made a taunting gesture. We won. That was a fun duel. Paradox Brothers. For a moment, they almost rolled up their sleeves and went for him. Ha, 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 yeah, great duel. Great, my ass. They turned and left with dark faces. Duel Academy, this cursed place they swore never to return. I didn't expect this. Even Alexis in the stands was rendered speechless. Misawa looked complicated. Yeah, even legendary duelists were defeated. He didn't finish, but both understood the meaning. No, it wasn't just defeated. Even legendary duelists had been broken. Everyone could tell the brothers left the field in a daze, nearly catatonic. They might even have a falling out after this. The students and teachers all enjoyed the duel immensely, agreeing with Jaden's that was a fun duel. But thinking about it later, if even legendary duelists could be reduced to this, what did the future hold for the dueling world? Actually, this combo was Kira's own modification, but it had a prototype in the real card meta called Cosmos Lock. It was one of the early lockdown decks. Although calling it competitive was a stretch, it barely reached the threshold for competitive play and was mostly just a fun deck, not meta-defining. From the name, you can guess the lock centered around the continuous trap Spatial Collapse, a classic anti-social deck. It was only for fun because the lock was hard to achieve. During setup, you could easily be disrupted. But once the lock was in place, in the old card pool, even the gods couldn't break free. Once lock was achieved, the opponent was alive, but already dead. Of course, Kira didn't remember the full deck, only the concept. So, he designed not the original Cosmos Lock, but a more stable fusion of Ojima Token Lock and Cosmos Lock. His version was also loaded with a ton of anime-only cards. The early field clearing and setup were handled by his own Ojima engine, while the all-important lock card Spatial Collapse was handed off to Jaden along with the finishing power of Rampart Blaster. It did take a bit of Jaden's destiny power to pull off such a kill lock with ease. Of course, top decking is always a bit of mysticism even for Kira and Jaden. It wasn't certain they'd draw Spatial Collapse immediately. But even if they didn't, their tactics would still work. The lock with Ojima tokens and heroes could still win, just not as oppressively as with the full lock. Without Jaden's help, the original Ojima lock usually relied on direct damage monsters and spells/traps for finishing. It was clear Jaden was genuinely having fun, grinning as he high-fived Kira in celebration. Misawa was once again speechless. He'd spent so long analyzing Jaden's hero deck and tactics, but this wasn't the style he knew. Looking at Kira and Jaden standing together, he felt something peculiar. These two were influencing each other, changing each other. Originally, they should have been two different, extreme duelists before today. He'd thought their partnership would just clash and interfere. But now it looked like their chemistry was producing something terrifying. 1 + 1 suddenly equaled much more. Misawa made up his mind. Facing either one alone would be tough enough. Whatever happened, he'd never go up against both in a tag match. After seeing what happened to the Paradox brothers, he knew it'd be worse than death. Chaz, another spectator, was also deeply shaken by the horror of Cosmos Lock, but after calming down, his attention shifted to those three ugly cute little monsters Kira had used. Ojima monsters. Even these kinds of weaklings can be useful. Chaz frowned, lost in thought. Kira, meanwhile, was happily raking in another wave of credits. A few days later, Kira's research application at the Academy was also approved. Kira was already a priority student for both the Chancellor and Crowlier. When he showed off his little achievements, the research department was even more impressed. So, although there was no precedent for this, after several days of meetings, the Academy agreed to his request. Kira now had his own lab and budget almost on par with a faculty member. Of course, he wasn't a teacher and couldn't supervise students. But that was fine, he could recruit his helpers. And he just happened to know some top-tier research talents who'd never refuse such an opportunity. Over the next few days, Misawa Bastion was once again struggling to sleep, sitting in front of his computer, analyzing every card used in Kira and Jaden's duel, trying to reconstruct their builds and tactics. The more he reconstructed, the more overwhelmed he felt. He realized that every time Kira appeared, he brought a brand new, mind-boggling strategy completely different from before. It was as if there was no point in his research at all. At this point, he felt less like he was preparing counters and more like he was studying a genius's problem-solving process for inspiration. Just as he was deep in research, he received a message from Kira himself. Misawa was surprised to see it, paused for a moment, then read the contents. My monster's hidden potential. Misawa read, confused. There was such a thing? Why didn't he know? Elsewhere. Obelisk Blue, girls' dorm, bathhouse. Alexis dipped her toes into the bath to test the temperature, then slid in gracefully. Alexis let out a soft moan as she slipped into the steaming water, her creamy skin flushing pink from the heat. The thin white towel clung tantalizingly to her curves as she submerged herself up to her shoulders, her long auburn hair floating around her like a halo. Alexis relaxed, eyes half closed, when she suddenly noticed her two close friends, Jasmine and Mindy, staring at her. What? What are you doing? Alexis instinctively took a defensive posture. Nothing, just. Alexis, you're so enviable. Enviable? Don't stare at me like that. Jasmine giggled. Come to think of it, Mindy's boobs also gotten bigger too, huh? So lucky, I'm jealous. Mindy quickly dodged. Jasmine, don't touch. After a round of laughter, Mindy started chatting, by the way, there are a few outstanding boys in this year's class. Jasmine, yeah, like Jaden Yuki. But he's noisy and talks too much. Misawa is nice. Good looking and seems smart. Kira fits my tastes too, good grades, strong duelist, and handsome. Just a shame. She trailed off, not sure how to describe it. Mindy, haha, as long as you're not dueling him, he's pretty nice. True, Jasmine agreed. Watching him duel is fun, but facing him yourself, not so much. It's a recipe for heart disease. Alexis, what do you think? Alexis tilted her head, thinking, but before she could answer, her terminal beeped. She'd left it by the bath in case someone needed to contact her urgently. She picked it up and checked. Hey! She raised her eyebrows. It was a message from Kira, the very person they'd just mentioned. Do you want to know the true power of cyber angels? Alexis. Mature version. Obelisk Blue, Girls' Dorm, Bath House. Alexis dipped her toes into the bath to test the temperature, then slid in gracefully. As she lowered herself into the steaming water, her towel slipped away, revealing her luscious curves in all their glory. Her full, perky breasts bounced slightly as she settled into the bath, nipples hardening from the sudden temperature change. Alexis let out a soft moan as she slipped deeper into the steaming water, her creamy skin flushing pink from the heat. Her long auburn hair floated around her like a halo, framing her beautiful face and drawing attention to her slender neck and collarbone. The water lapped gently at the swell of her breasts, barely concealing her rosy nipples beneath the surface. Alexis relaxed, eyes half closed, when she suddenly noticed her two close friends, Jasmine and Mindy, staring at her. Their gazes roamed over her exposed body, taking in every curve and dip of her flawless figure. What? What are you doing? Alexis instinctively took a defensive posture, her arms crossing over her chest and inadvertently pushing her breasts together, creating an even more tantalizing view. Nothing, just. Alexis, you're so enviable. Jasmine's eyes lingered on Alexis's generous cleavage, her own smaller breasts suddenly feeling inadequate in comparison. Enviable? Don't stare at me like that. Alexis blushed deeper, her skin now pink from both embarrassment and the hot water. She shifted in the bath, causing ripples that revealed glimpses of her toned stomach and the curve of her hips. Jasmine giggled, her gaze shifting to Mindy. Come to think of it, Mindy's boobs have also gotten bigger too, huh? So lucky, I'm jealous. She reached out playfully towards Mindy's chest, which was barely concealed by her own damp towel. Mindy quickly dodged, her towel slipping slightly and exposing more of her own ample cleavage. Jasmine, don't touch. She laughed, her body swaying enticingly as she moved away from Jasmine's reach. The three girls' laughter echoed through the bathhouse, their wet, glistening bodies on full display as they continued their playful banter, completely unaware of how alluring they looked in that moment. Chapter 134, Company Headquarters. As Kira had expected, both Misawa and Alexis accepted his invitation. When he showed them his modified Machine Angel ritual and Carbonettin cards belonging to each of them, they were both so shocked they joined immediately. Printing cards is not just about knowledge and skill, fate also plays a part. Some upperclassmen may have more knowledge at this stage, but they can't match the main characters in Destiny Power. Misawa needs no further explanation, a top scholar who learns fast. In the original, he even turned to researching dual physics, going down the science route. Honestly, Kira always felt he was born for research, not dueling. Alexis, too, had considered staying at the academy to teach and do research after graduation. Kira sometimes thought if they'd gone into research instead of dueling, maybe their reputations wouldn't have suffered as in the original. Since card printing seems to involve fate, Kira felt the best people to work on cards were those closely linked to the deck itself. So, for the Cyber Angels project, Alexis was the ideal candidate. Besides Cyber Angels, he also thought Hero and Cyber Dragon decks could be greatly improved. Cyber Dragon would have to wait since he hadn't even met Zane Truesdale yet. He might invite him later, but the Cyber Dragon deck is much stronger in real life than in the anime, and developing new cards would be much harder. Of course, his lab was still just a prototype. The lack of current tech doesn't mean he won't have it in the future. When his team and budget grow, maybe they could even design whole new archetypes. As for hero, masked hero cards are much stronger in the real game than in the anime, but Jaden currently only has elemental heroes. And it'd be tough to get Jaden to do research anyway. He's the type who can print cards live if the mood strikes, but usually skips or sleeps through class. Research just isn't his thing. A few days later, Kira finally got a message from Kaiba Corp's research team. The team leader was extremely excited, telling him that thanks to the spiritual hints he'd provided, the Chaos Warrior theme had made a breakthrough. He should come and see. The leader was so hyped he called late at night and wanted to send someone to pick Kira up immediately. Kira said he'd get permission from the academy and come the next day. So, early the next morning, a KC-branded helicopter landed on the Academy Island. Kira boarded and flew straight to the legendary duel capital Domino City, home of Kaiba Corp HQ. As soon as he landed, the lab-coated leader greeted him, tugged him inside, and chattered about how the team had been working around the clock. But Kira could already tell from the leader's even darker eye circles that they'd gone all out. He wanted to tell the guy to pace himself. He still needed him for more chaos upgrades, wouldn't want him to work himself to death. But the leader seemed energetic enough, quickly leading Kira to the lab, where the whole team was waiting anxiously. A researcher quickly went to a cylindrical device at the far end of the lab. The leader and another person each took out a key, inserted them into two separate locks, and turned them in opposite directions. With a click, a keypad popped out. They each entered a code and then did iris and fingerprint scans. The cylinder rumbled, slowly spinning and opening. Inside were several cards. These are the ones we just finished. The leader handed them to Kira with something like reverence. The test field is ready. Kira glanced at them. Just as he'd described. Beginning night, level 4, ATK 500, Def 2000. In short, when used as a ritual material to summon Black Luster Soldier, it grants 2 effects, once per turn: banish an opponent's monster. Also, if it destroys a monster by battle, it can attack again. Similar to BLS Ob, but even stronger, using dimension/limits BLS's attacks, but with this card as material, there's no such restriction. This card is a light attribute. There's also a dark version. Evening Twilight Night, level 4, ATK 500, Def 2000. Like Beginning Night, but when used for ritual, BLS gains: first, dimension/banish a monster. Second, it can randomly banish a card from the opponent's hand, with that card returning at the end of their next turn. If you use both as materials, BLS gets all the effects: banish an opponent's monster, extra attack, and banish a hand card. This would make the legendary warrior finally worthy of his title. They'd also developed new ritual spells from Kira's descriptions, 2 in fact. Super Soldier Ritual BLS exclusive. While this card's in the graveyard, you can banish it and 1 light and 1 dark monster to special summon a BLS ritual from your hand, ignoring conditions. So, with this in the grave, any BLS ritual can be summoned as easily as BLS Eob. Super Soldier Synthesis lets you use 1 light and 1 dark monster from hand and deck as material to ritual summon BLS. The most powerful ritual spell in the system. Printing new cards from scratch is much harder than just making real versions of anime cards, but Kaiba's top team, they managed it. Kira had also hinted at more BLS forms, but the leader said they were still trying, with little luck so far. This matched what Kira learned about card making: the stronger the monster, the harder it is to print. Even with a top team, only support monsters and spells/traps had been made so far. The real powerhouses were still out of reach. The research team was eager for Kira, who possessed the BLS spirit, to use the new cards in a ritual summon and gather data for further development. This was easy, like running drills with his dual disc. After assisting with the test, Kira returned to the control room, where Kaiba's right-hand man Mokuba had arrived. Looks like development's going well. Thanks, Mokuba smiled. When these results go public, it'll be a breakthrough. They exchanged some polite words, and then Mokuba got to the point: later, I'll take you to check out our inventory. Don't get your hopes up, though rare cards like Dark Magician or Red Eyes Black Dragon are out of the question. No worries, I just want to look, Kira replied. Oh, and about the surprise I mentioned before. Mokuba grinned mysteriously. The link system we talked about last time is almost finished. Want to try it? Chapter 135, Link System. Link System. Kira walked side by side with Mokuba down the long hallway, asking. That's right, Mokuba replied. We started developing something like this a few years ago. Back then, my brother invented a new type of dual disk, which could link card data's quantum information with the memory regions of the brain. All dual information would become mental images, visually realized in space. I think I've heard of that. Kira quickly recalled. It's like the dual disks developed by Kaiba in the movie The Dark Side of Dimensions, a product that combines technology and a bit of the metaphysical. It can digitize card data, link with a person's memory, amplify a duelist's self-awareness, and under certain conditions, even print physical cards from memory data images. That famous movie scene where Kaiba draws a card from the floor pulling the Obelisk the Tormentor, which should no longer exist in this world, was thanks to this system, shocking Blue God for an entire year. But that development was only a stepping stone for a bigger project, and now it's finally about to be completed. By now, Mokuba had led Kira to another laboratory. As soon as they entered, someone handed over a dual disc and a device resembling an earpiece, which Mokuba gave to Kira. This is the key to opening a new world. It was a light blue, high-tech looking dual disc, with intricate carvings along the edges and a circle of transparent displays and indicator lights. Mokuba had already put on his dual disc and earpiece and gave a mysterious smile. Activate it and you'll see. With that, he was the first to activate the device. So Kira followed suit, activating the system. The dual disc's indicator lights lit up sequentially, and a faint buzzing came through the earpiece. Suddenly, he seemed to see a stream of data flash before his eyes like an ocean of countless zeros and ones, quickly engulfing his entire field of vision until all surrounding scenery was swallowed up. When he came to his senses, he looked around and found himself standing on an unfamiliar street. It was an unknown city. The skyline was outlined by bizarre skyscrapers straight out of a sci-fi movie, towering into the clouds. But they weren't made of concrete and glass. Instead, their structures changed color and texture with the light, making the entire city look like a giant gemstone. Kira paused, looking down at his own body. Sight, touch, all his senses felt completely real. But some instinct told him that this was a false world. Amazing, right? Mokuba appeared at his side, smiling. Since this is just a test model, our avatars are still our real-world appearances. Otherwise, you could choose any virtual image to enter. A full-dive virtual reality game? Kira asked. Not exactly like those in fantasy works, but the result is kind of similar, I suppose, Mokuba thought for a moment. The prototype for this technology existed many years ago, even before my brother and I took over this company. Our adoptive father, Gozaburo Kaiba, developed a rather mature version back then. Kira realized what he was referring to. That was from the Noah arc in the DM anime. Kaiba Gozaburo's biological son, Noah Kaiba, died in a car accident. Gozaburo downloaded Noah's consciousness data into Kaiba Corp's military supercomputer. That consciousness gradually evolved into a highly intelligent AI, and over the years, created a vast virtual world. In that arc, Noah secretly dragged Yugi and Kaiba's group into his virtual world, but by the end, that data space was destroyed. However, the technology was probably preserved by Kaiba. On that foundation, they developed this link system, a massive virtual world, like a giant open-world online game. According to Kaiba's plan, duelists from all over the world could log in and duel online. Naturally, Kira thought of Yu-Gi-Oh's 6th series, Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. Though set in a parallel world, it looked like a distant future. That series was also the first in Yu-Gi-Oh! To set its main stage in an online game called Link Vrains, where nearly all duels took place online. From the description now, is Kaiba's system somehow related to that future thing? Kira even tried calling out for Silent Magician. After a moment, the silver-haired beautiful mage floated out from her deck, tilting her head in spirit form. What? Oh, it's nothing, just calling you for fun. Kira smiled. Silent Magician. Of course, he wasn't just calling for fun. This confirmed for him that, although his consciousness was projected into a data world, spirit power still worked here, and so should the properties of destiny power. But that was to be expected. Supernatural powers are metaphysical, and they work in data space as well. This was already proven in DM. In the original, AI Noah tried to seize Yugi's body in the virtual world using his authority, but ended up being backfired by the power of the Millennium Puzzle. Pretty awesome, right? Mokuba said smugly. It's still just a prototype, only testers can log in. But we'll finish the facilities soon. This way, duelists worldwide can duel happily, regardless of location. Didn't my brother invite you to join the Duel City GX tournament before? We're planning to hold this tournament online in the Link system, as the system's grand opening. He suddenly stopped. He had received a message from Kaiba Corp's tech staff. Unauthorized access? Here. Mokuba was surprised. But the Link system isn't even officially open yet. He immediately made some connections in his mind. Could it be that hacker from last time? We're not sure, sir, the technician replied. But there's abnormal data space in the Link system. We're trying to clear it. No, send me the coordinates first, Mokuba interrupted. I want to check it out myself. Yes, sir. After receiving the coordinates from HQ, Mokuba snapped his fingers. The scenery around them began to warp, spinning dizzyingly. In an instant, they teleport to another corner of the virtual map. This was part of Mokuba's GM privileges, allowing teleportation to any map coordinate. Where they landed, they faced a gloomy old castle. Unlike the sci-fi buildings from before, the castle's walls were mottled and eerie, its long shadows looming like a giant monster lurking in the dark. Mokuba frowned. Strange, we never designed an area like this. Of course not. A voice emerged from the shadows. A man in black, wearing sunglasses, walked out with a smile. Because it was designed by our master, in the shadows of your shiny, glamorous virtual world. You're the hackers invading our company. Mokuba asked coldly. Who are you, and what do you want? The man chuckled but didn't answer directly. Instead, he said. Since you've found us, it should be easy for Kaiba Corp to kick us out or delete our shadow base here. But if you do that, you won't get the answers you want, will you? Oh. Mokuba folded his arms and smiled. I smell a deal. So, what do you propose? Simple. Let's decide it by the one rule President Sito Kaiba values most, the only rule in this Link system. The man revealed his duel disc and deck. Let's duel. If you win, we'll honestly answer any questions you have. Chapter 136, Scrub Monsters? As expected of the Yu-Gi-Oh! World, everything can be settled with cards. But just as Kira thought the story would move into another classic duel, Mokuba interrupted with a look of disdain. No. Man. Wait, why aren't you following the script? Aren't all Kaibas supposed to be duel maniacs? Isn't it a rule that they never refuse a duel challenge? First, I already know who you are. Mokuba kept his hands in his pockets, calm. Kirk Dixon, right? Not under industrial illusions, or rather, to be precise, one of Pegasus' adopted sons, Pegasus Yako Tenma's card professors, correct. Tenma appeared in a DM side story as Pegasus' adopted son, and the holder of the three wicked gods, rivals to the three Egyptian gods. Tenma had a whole team of elite card professors, each a top duelist of their time. Back then, Yugi had to defeat the entire team to reach Tenma. So, by the logic of the Paradox brothers that having dueled the king of games makes you a legendary duelist, Tenma's team should all count as legendary duelists too. Kirk was shocked. How did you know? Come on, you think Kaiba Corp's abilities are that limited? Mokuba squinted. What made you think a simple disguise could fool us? TCH, so I was found out. Those techs are useless. As he spoke, data flowed across his body, his virtual disguise dropped, and the tough guy in black sunglasses transformed into a short, somewhat sleazy man with glasses. Yes, my name is Kirk Dixon, an elite card professor under Master Tenma. Mokuba frowned. Kaiba Corp and Industrial Illusions settled their differences years ago, and have maintained stable cooperation ever since. Why invade our system? Want to know? Kirk adjusted his glasses and sneered. If you want to know, then. No need, I'll just ask Pegasus at Industrial Illusions myself. Mokuba raised a hand. I'll just kick you out now. Kirk. Nanny? Still refusing to duel? Why aren't you following the script? If it were President Kaiba, he'd never refuse a duel challenge. But Mokuba isn't Kaiba. In fact, his usual role is being taken hostage to force the president to duel. Is he a princess or something, lol. As everyone knows, in DM canon, the 7 Millennium items are 8, Yugi's grandpa and Kaiba's brother are the 8th Millennium item, the Millennium Hostage, whose effect is to rapidly advance the plot. How about, Kira interrupted, I try dueling him. Mokuba glanced at him. Honestly, if it's just a duel, there's nothing to lose if they win, the opponent will tell the truth, saving a lot of trouble. But Mokuba wasn't too confident in his dueling skills. Can you? Mokuba asked. Of course. It's rare to visit the link system. I haven't tried dueling here yet. Kira was eager. All right. Mokuba nodded and smiled. Then I'll leave it to you. Looks like I owe you another favor. No problem. Kira stepped forward. I'll be your opponent. Kirk finally relaxed. Will, finally, a duel. Fine. Kirk sneered, sizing him up. You're one of Kaiba Corp's duelists. No, Kira replied seriously. Just a regular first-year student at Duel Academy. Kirk. What? A first year? He looked at Mokuba as if asking, are you sure? Even though he knew Duel Academy only accepted elite students, they were still just students. Kirk Dixon, after all, was a famous expert who'd once lost to the king of games himself. Wasn't this a bit disrespectful? Let's get this over with, then, Mr. Legendary. Kira took his place. TCH, fine, have it your way. Kirk narrowed his eyes. Let me show you how cruel the real dueling world is. Come on. Duel. X2. Kira, LP 4000. Kirk, LP 4000. I'll go first. Draw. Kirk declared. Kirk Dixon was the original user of the Machina deck. The entire Machina series made its debut with him. Let me show you the full power of Machina suppression. With Machina Fortress in hand, by discarding machine monsters whose total level is 8 or more, I can special summon Fortress from my hand or graveyard. He showed the other card he'd drawn, and quickly sent it to the graveyard. I discard level 8 Machina Cannon to special summon Machina Fortress. The heavy fortress crashed onto the field, shaking the ground. Then I set a card and end my turn. Kirk folded his arms, displaying the confidence of a superior. Now, first-year student, show me what you've learned. All right, I'll try not to disappoint you, Mr. Legendary. Kira smiled. My turn, draw. First, I activate the quick play spell Hand Destruction. Both players send 2 cards from their hand to the graveyard, then draw 2. Kirk picked 2 cards to discard, and so did Kira. But after the operation, Kira's graveyard glowed with golden light. I just discarded the spell card Ojima Magic. When this card is sent from hand or field to the graveyard, I can add 1 each of Ojima Green, Ojima Yellow, and Ojima Black from my deck to my hand. So, I add the Ojima Trio to my hand. Ojima. Kirk was surprised. He knew of this basic deck in the GX anime. Ojimas were considered joke cards, just filler for card boxes. Even Chaz was surprised when someone used Ojimas, saying, who else would use these scrub monsters? As a card professor, Kirk only dealt with elite circles. He knew of the Ojima deck, but this was the first time he'd seen someone use it in a real duel. Kirk frowned even more deeply, looking at Mokuba with some annoyance. Was he just sending out a random scrub to duel him? Was this some sort of insult? Next, I play the spell Desperado Manager. As long as I have more than 1 card in hand, I can draw 2 cards from my deck, but then I need to return 3 cards from my hand to the top of my deck. Anime card. He drew, then stacked the Ojima Trio on top of his deck in order. Now I activate the spell Enchanting Fitting Room. I pay 800 LP, reveal the top 4 cards of my deck, and special summon any level 3 or lower normal monsters among them, returning the rest to the deck and shuffling. Kira, LP 4000 LP 3200. The top 3 cards are exactly the 3 I just put back, so, of course, they're normal monsters. Kira revealed 3 monsters. So, I special summon the Ojima Trio. Ojima Yellow, Def 1000. Ojima Green, Def 1000. Ojima Black, Def 1000. 3 monsters at once, Kirk said. A creative combo, but they're still just scrubs. What use is bringing out more of them? For some reason, just seeing those 3 Ojima monsters squatting there made him feel mocked. Don't rush, scrubs have their uses too. Kira smiled, calmly revealing another card. I activate the spell Ojima Delta Hurricane. If I control Ojima Green, Yellow, and Black, I destroy all cards you control. Kirk's expression finally changed. Those scrubs can do that? Chapter 137, The Butt Face Slapping Trio. Ojima Secret Technique Ojima Delta Hurricane. This is the Ojima brothers' ultimate move. The three strike their classic pose, butts together, spinning like a wheel. An unstoppable three-colored storm rips across the opponent's field, wiping out everything. TCH, these scrubs won't break through my Machina defense. Kirk responded quickly. Activate set card trap card roll out. I equip the Machina Peacekeeper from my graveyard to my face-up Machina Fortress. A small transforming machine appeared from the graveyard, attaching as red armor to the fortress. When Machina Fortress with a union equipped would be destroyed by battle or effect, the Machina Peacekeeper can be destroyed instead. The three-colored storm shattered the union armor, but thanks to the protection, the fortress barely survived. Looks like scrubs are still scrubs. Kirk adjusted his glasses. My countermeasures are better. Kira didn't respond, but played another card. I activate the spell White Elephant's Gift. Send one monster other than effect monsters from the field to the graveyard, and draw 2 cards. I send Ojima Green to the graveyard and draw. He picked up 4 cards. I set 4 cards face down and end my turn. Kirk. 4 face downs? Mokuba, who knew this was someone his brother cared about, was also curious about what kind of duelist Kira was. Upon seeing this, he couldn't help but think of 2 old friends. One was the always smiling sunshine boy from the Duelist Kingdom, now gone but still vivid in memory. The other is, of course, the legendary duelist who, despite being alive, used underworld tactics to send dueling spirits back to the afterlife. Mokuba glanced curiously at Kira. Could this guy be the same type as Yugi? That's rare. My turn, draw. Kirk declared. No matter what you've set up, my Machinas will easily crush you. I summon. Hold on, the standby phase isn't over yet. Kira snapped his fingers. I flip my set card trap card Ballista Squad. Tribute a monster on my field to destroy a card on your field. I tribute Ojima Black to destroy Machina Fortress. A giant catapult appeared, launching Ojima Black like a human cannonball, but first. Fortress was blasted open, sparks flying. In moments, it collapsed into a pile of junk. Kirk was furious. TCH, my fortress taken out by a scrub. But it didn't matter. His fortress could revive from the graveyard as long as he discarded machines totaling level 8 or more. Next, I activate another set card. Kira flipped another back row. Trap card Ojima Trio. Special summon 3 Ojima tokens to your opponent's field. These tokens can't be tribute for a tribute summon. Go, Ojima Trio tokens. The yellow, black, and green tokens appeared on Kirk's field, one reading the newspaper, one snoring, one sipping tea. Kirk frowned as he watched these guys appear but snorted, giving your opponent monsters for free, is this what the academy teaches? Haha, I'm a rookie, my dueling isn't that polished. Kira smiled. But I do have a bit of my thinking. If you could give me some pointers, I'd appreciate it. Now, I activate my last set card. He revealed the final back row. Continuous Trap Rivalry of Warlords. Kirk squinted at the trap. Rivalry of Warlords, what's that? Each player sends monsters from their field to the graveyard until only one type remains on their field. And as long as this card stays, both players can only control one type of monster. Kirk. He hadn't realized what this meant yet. Looking at the tokens, snoring, reading, drinking. Kirk. Nanny? He could only control one type, and the tokens were all beast type. Which meant, from now on, he could only summon beast monsters. But his Machina deck didn't have any beasts. Realizing how broken this combo was, Kirk's eyes nearly popped out, and his glasses almost fell off. First-time spectator Mokuba was wide-eyed as if he wanted to say something but couldn't. Actually, Ojima Trio and Rivalry of Warlords are the original Ojima Lock combo, the deck's core. Kira hadn't drawn it last time against the Paradox Brothers. Rivalry of Warlords is an old-school card. While it's a powerful lockdown card, early on, players didn't value it much. But the Ojima Lock build discovered its potential. A lockdown card alone might not be enough, but what if you gave your opponent 3 useless tokens? Mr. Legendary, how's my tactic? Kira asked politely. Kirk. He wanted to ask if this was really what they taught at the academy, but couldn't get the words out. I set a monster face down. He said through gritted teeth. Then set a card and end my turn. His deck was all machines, so he was locked out of summoning. All he could do was set a monster. But if the set monster is flipped and its type doesn't match the tokens, it gets sent to the graveyard. In your end phase, I activate a set card trap card just desserts. Deal 500 damage to your opponent for each monster they control. Also an old school Ojima deck staple. Ojima Trio gives the opponent 3 monsters minimum 1500 burn. You have 4 monsters, so take 2000 damage, Mr. Legendary. The tokens and set monster glowed, burning Kirk's LP. His body flickered, data leaking. Kirk, LP 4000 LP 2000. Ugh, rookie. Kirk gritted his teeth. As if things couldn't get worse, the tokens had an animation. Token green, oops, feels like we're scamming someone, sorry. Token yellow, but somehow, it feels comfortable here. Token black, ZZZ. ZZZ. Kirk felt like he'd been punched in the gut. You guys. My turn, draw. Kira glanced at the trio. Actually, in the deck he bought, his 3 Ojima brothers looked normal, but the tokens always seemed to have way too much personality. Maybe these tokens have spirits. Anyway, my turn, Kira revealed a card. Spell card Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards. After drawing, he summoned. Normal summon Inaba White Rabbit. Inaba White Rabbit, ATK 700. Inaba White Rabbit is beast type, like Ojima Yellow, so it isn't restricted by Rivalry of Warlords. And it can attack directly. Kira signaled. Inaba White Rabbit, direct attack. The red-eyed bunny leaped forward and whacked Kirk on the forehead, making him see stars. Kirk, LP 2000 LP 1300. The tokens even showed concern. Token yellow, yikes, that hit hard. You okay? He calmly sipped tea. Token green, just hearing it hurts. Token black, ZZZ. ZZZ. Kirk's teeth were grinding. You, cough, you. Kira rested his chin on his hand. This works even better than I thought. In real life, this kind of stall just annoys the opponent. But here, you also get taunted by the tokens. Kirk's pained face said it all. I set a card face down. Kira set a back row. Inaba White Rabbit returns to my hand at the end of the turn. The rabbit turned into a beam of light and returned to his hand. My turn end. Chapter 138, You guys again? Kirk took a deep breath. My turn, draw. With Rivalry of Warlords and Ojima Trio in play, he couldn't summon any monsters, and his life points were down to 1300. If things continued, he'd probably be finished next turn by the White Rabbit's direct attack and some burning effect. He glanced at the card he drew, squinting. No choice, he'd have to rely on this draw to turn things around. I set a card, Kirk said, playing the card he just drew. Then I activate this card. Spell card, Card of Sanctity. Both players draw until they have 6 cards in hand. Anime effect. Kira raised an eyebrow. As expected of a DM-era character back then, Card of Sanctity was the equivalent of Pot of Greed in GX, everyone used it. Here we go. Drawing up to a full 6 cards did seem to give him a chance. Kirk laughed and slapped down a card. Spell card, Dark Hole. Destroy all monsters on the field. Fine black lines stretched across the void, like a tear opening up, and in an instant, a destructive celestial body was born. The expanding rift became a miniature black hole, like a ghostly flame or a demon's eye, swallowing everything on the field with overwhelming gravitational force, grinding them to dust. All monsters on the field are destroyed now. The summon lock is lifted. Kirk shouted. With the Ojima tokens gone, he could freely summon monsters again. As long as he summoned a machine type, Rivalry of Warlords would restrict him to only machines, which was fine, since his entire deck was machines anyway. At this moment, the Ojima tokens effect also activates, Kira reminded. When an Ojima token is destroyed, its controller takes 300 damage. Nanny. Kirk's expression changed again. The departed clown trio reappeared as transparent ghosts, shouting underwear attack. As they charged at his face, butts first. LOL. Oh wow. Kirk, LP 1300 LP 400. He wiped cold sweat from his brow. Damn, these disgusting things even had a hidden trap. If he'd had 400 less LP, he'd have self-destructed right there. But at least he'd finally broken out of the lockdown. With the summon lock gone, I can summon monsters again. I activate Machina Fortress in the graveyard. By discarding machine-type monsters from my hand with total levels of 8 or more, I special summon Fortress from the graveyard. I discard the level 8 Machina Mega form from my hand now, arise in an even stronger form. Machina Fortress, revive. The heavy fortress crawled out of the vortex in the graveyard, guns aimed once again at Kira's empty field. Fortress can revive as many times as I want. Kirk shouted. Feel the overwhelming firepower of my Machinas. Machina Fortress, direct attack. The fortress's turret rotated, barrel locked on target. The energy core inside hummed, glowing red hot. A cannon blast an angry fire dragon shooting across the field, leaving a trail of light. Now I activate my set card, Kira said, raising his hand. Trap card Dimension Barrier. When your opponent declares an attack, the battle damage is inflicted on them instead. Another trap. Kirk's eyes narrowed, and he shouted through gritted teeth. But Muta. Counter Trap Jammer. It negates and destroys a trap card activated during the battle phase. Dimension Barrier's activation is negated. The newly formed dimensional barrier shattered, and the fortress's firepower continued unimpeded. Kira took the full brunt of the blast, stumbling back, his virtual body flickering like a rippling stream. Kira, LP 3200 LP 700. But he quickly steadied himself, glancing at his data-streamed right hand. I see. It can simulate real sensations, so even as data consciousness you can feel the impact, just like the real thing. Exactly, Mokuba said. In the Link system, we strive to recreate the most realistic, top-tier dueling experience. Kira thought for a moment. So even if it's just data consciousness, a shadow game in this virtual space should be possible. That's only natural. Shadow games are a basic law of this world, transcending time and space. Even as early as episode 2 of the DM anime, Pegasus managed to duel Yugi in a shadow game via videotape. And that was before the internet, even just a videotape broadcast on TV could do it. So, pulling off a shadow game in an online game should be even easier. It's not over yet. Kirk said coldly. I haven't forgotten that you still have that dangerous Inaba White Rabbit. Next turn, if you attack directly with it, I'm finished. So, I activate the spell card Destruction from my hand. Both players discard all cards in hand, then draw the same number. Very cautious, Kira nodded, discarding Inaba White Rabbit and drawing new cards. My turn ends, Kirk laughed. Your lock is broken. My Machina firepower proved unstoppable in the end. Just a little more, and I'll finish you next turn. Looks like the poor guy was stressed out. No wonder Kira knew from experience that being locked down and taunted like that could drive anyone mad. My turn, draw, Kira said calmly. Quick play spell, emergency provisions. I send the continuous trap Rivalry of Warlords to the graveyard, and recover 1000 life points. Kira, LP 700 LP 1700. Next, I activate Ojimandala, pay 1000 LP to revive Ojima Green, Ojima Black, and Ojima Yellow from the graveyard. Kira, LP 1700 LP 700. The green, yellow, and black trio bounced out of the graveyard once again. Just seeing them made Kirk furious, not these disgusting things again. But this time, they were on Kira's side. He could vent his rage on them. Spell card, Polymerization. I fuse Ojima Black, Ojima Green, and Ojima Yellow on the field. Kirk. These clowns can fuse? The triple fusion of the Ojima trio. The crystallization of brotherly power. Behold. Ojima King, fusion summon. In a triple fusion vortex, dazzling light burst forth. Out stepped a huge figure with red briefs on the outside, a cape, and a burly build. It was a supersized Ojima. Though the entrance effect was flashy, he still looked like a classic gag character, big white head, huge mouth, and a not-so-bright smile. Ojima King, ATK 0. Kirk. What's with a fusion boss monster with 0 attack? Is this a joke? Next, I activate the field spell Ojima Country. Kira declared. As long as there's an Ojima monster on the field, all monsters' original ATK and def are swapped. Kirk, attack and defense switched. Ojima King, ATK 0 ATK 3000. Machina Fortress, ATK 2500 ATK 1600. Stats reversed. Ojima King, attack Machina Fortress. Kira ordered. Ojima King flexed his biceps, then soared superhero style across the field, slamming a fist into Machina Fortress. Kirk's face darkened. Are you kidding me? I'm going to lose to a gag monster like this? If this punch lands, it's not just high damage, it's massively humiliating. He couldn't accept it. Activate set card. Trap card Malevolent Catastrophe. When a monster declares an attack, destroy all monsters on the field. Anime effect. This is the same trap Merrick used back in the day, though the real card was changed to destroy all spells and traps when your opponent attacks. Say goodbye, Ojima King. A massive vortex erupted from the trap, sweeping across the field. Both the Iron Fortress and the charging Ojima King were swallowed up. Field wiped. At this moment, Machina Megaform in my graveyard activates. Kirk laughed. When Machina Fortress I control is sent to the graveyard, I can banish Fortress to special summon Megaform from the graveyard. Come forth. Machina Megaform. The just defeated Fortress reappeared, armor plates shifting and assembling into a giant robot, the Iron War God. Machina Megaform, ATK 2600. Mokuba's expression turned serious, to break out of that kind of lockdown and still turn the tables. As expected of a legendary card professor. Kira, I'll set 2 cards face down and end my turn. Ha, out of tricks at last. Kirk sneered. Then, my turn. Kirk drew, then smirked. Well, for a student, your performance was quite surprising. But it can't be helped, I'm just too strong. Against my invincible machinas. Activate set card, trap card Ojima Trio. Special summon 3 Ojima tokens to your opponent's field. Ojima token, Def 1000 Def 0x3. The tokens are also affected by Ojima country and have their stats swapped. The yellow, green, and black tokens leaped onto Kirk's field, immediately lounging around as usual. Token yellow, long time no see. Token green, sorry to bother you again. Token black, ZZZ. ZZZ. It's us 3 again. JPG. XD. Veins bulged on Kirk's forehead. You guys again? But he quickly calmed down. Even if you summon tokens now, it doesn't matter. Your lockdown's broken, these scrubs can't stop my invincible machinas. Activate another set card, Kira snapped his fingers. Trap card Torrential Tribute. When a monster is successfully summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. Kirk was shocked again. Using Ojima Trio to summon monsters just to trigger Torrential Tribute and wipe his own mega form? No, wait. A flash of realization hit him. It's not that simple. Those disgusting Ojima tokens effect is. When an Ojima token is destroyed, its controller takes 300 damage. Kirk's mind went blank. An endless torrent erupted from the trap, sweeping away his giant iron machina and the 3 tokens. Then the ghostly Ojima brothers popped out again. No, don't. Kirk instinctively backed away as the 3 red-briefed clowns transformed into monsters in his eyes. Stay away, don't come any closer, don't. But the trio charged at him, butts first. The damage was high, the humiliation even higher. Nuuu. Kirk, LP 400 LP 0. PS, read at least 100 chapters at patreon.com/absolute code. Chapter 139, He is that special kind. Kirk. Mokuba. The duel was over, but for a moment, both the spectator and the defeated were silent. One was reflecting on what kind of duel they'd just seen, the other was pondering exactly what they'd just played. The Ojima Trio cards most duelists would throw into a dry well as trash, a scrub series everyone instinctively ignored. Yet these scrubs just taught expert Professor Kirk a lesson, showing him the dark side of dueling. Whether it was Ojima Trio or the fused Ojima King, their ATK is always 0, only with stat switching effects do they become remotely threatening. Yet, facing a deck with almost no actual attack power, he'd never felt so powerless in a duel. He'd never played a duel so stifling in his life. Kirk looked at Kira with a complicated expression, then glanced strangely at Mokuba. At the start of the duel, he'd looked at Mokuba with contempt, as if to say, is Kaiba Corp sending a scrub to insult me? But after just one duel, that contempt had turned to deep grievance. We didn't even have a grudge, I just wanted a duel. Sending out a deck like this is a bit much, isn't it? Mokuba was a little surprised too. He coughed and said, anyway, you lost. As agreed, talk. What's the deal between us and Industrial Illusions? Why attack our servers? Kirk stood, collected himself, and got to business. It's a misunderstanding, he said. Oh. Mokuba raised an eyebrow. What kind of misunderstanding? Kirk shook his head. I'm just a grunt, and this was all online using a virtual avatar. Even if I told you, you might not believe me. Lord Tenma said so himself. At 7 p.m. tonight, he will meet you in person at the Foundation headquarters. He'll explain everything himself. The Foundation was a dual monsters-related foundation Tenma established, independent of his foster father Pegasus's industrial illusions. Tenma Yako, hey. Mokuba frowned slightly. Kira roughly understood what he was thinking. Kaiba Corp and Tenma Yako did have some history. Kira had researched past events and realized this world was a fusion of anime and manga. Major events tended to follow the anime, but Tenma Yako, a manga character, also existed here. In the manga, while Kaiba was in America, Tenma Yako occupied Kaiba Corp's HQ, hijacked their servers, and challenged Yugi. Kaiba rushed back, but in his duel against Tenma Yako, who wielded the wicked gods, Kaiba lost. Tenma's motivation in the manga was revenge for his foster father Pegasus's death during the Duelist Kingdom, wanting to challenge Yugi. However, in this world, Pegasus was still alive, so history differed. Nonetheless, even here, Tenma Yako, as the wicked god wielder, was corrupted by those cards and challenged Yugi, who held the Egyptian gods. He also duelled Kaiba and, with the wicked god's power, defeated him just like in the original. That was an unforgettable loss for Kaiba. Afterward, Yugi defeated the wicked gods and helped Tenma Yako return to normal. After that, Pegasus and Tenma realized the wicked gods were too strong and dangerous, so they were destroyed. That was many years ago. After such events, it's understandable there'd be some bad blood between Seto Kaiba and Tenma Yako. Lord Tenma assures you, our organization had nothing to do with the hack. In fact, Industrial Illusions was a victim too, Kirk said solemnly. Please come discuss in person tonight. All right, I understand, Mokuba nodded. I'll let my brother know too. Thank you. I'll take my leave now. Also, the link system is a great invention. We'll restore and erase all data in the area we hacked. Good, Mokuba nodded. Professor Kirk Dixon bowed and logged out. Before leaving, he gave Kira one last look. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but his expression was complicated, and after hesitating for a while, he said nothing, his form dissolving into a stream of data. From the looks of it, he'd probably have a psychological shadow whenever he saw the Ojima trio from now on. Kira and Mokuba also logged out from the link system. After taking off the equipment, Mokuba told Kira to wait a moment, then hurried off to call President Kaiba and report what had happened. The president was currently on a business trip abroad. Tenma Yako, hey. Kaiba squinted after picking up the phone, humming thoughtfully. Apparently, like Mokuba, he was remembering some rather unpleasant old memories. So? Mokuba asked. Humph, interesting. Since they've invited us, of course, we're going, Kaiba sneered. Understood. I'll go tonight then. Mokuba thought for a moment and smiled. By the way, big brother, quite the coincidence today. Do you remember the first year at Duel Academy, Fujiki Kira? I remember, Kaiba replied blandly. I happened to be showing him the link system when this incident happened. Thankfully, he was with us. He stepped in for us and beat Tenma Yako's card professor. Kaiba said. Yako's minions may be competent, but that's their limit. If he can't even handle them, he's not worth paying attention to. Haha, I thought the same, so I let him duel. But... Mokuba hesitated, searching for the right words. I watched his duel, and, how do I put it, it was a strange feeling. Kaiba, what, you think he's amazing? Mokuba scratched his head. It's not about being amazing, he's really special. He realized it was hard to describe that feeling in words. But I recorded it. If you're interested, you can watch. I think his duel was pretty interesting. Mokuba, recalling Kirk Dixon's eaten shit expression during the duel, couldn't help but laugh again. Anyway, whatever the case, I found it pretty entertaining. He didn't know about amazing, but as a spectator, it was very satisfying. Oh. As soon as Kaiba heard about the duel, he was interested. Alright, send it to me. Chapter 140, to the meeting. Afterward, Mokuba once again generously showed Kira the company's vast card inventory at headquarters. When the code lock opened and the heavy military-grade alloy door slowly swung open, Kira had to admit the sight was impressive. Everywhere he looked cards. It was a duelist's paradise, the first time he'd seen such a massive space filled with every kind of duel monsters card, like a treasure vault. Tall display cases lined the walls like proud guardians. Cards inside were arranged by year and type, from the earliest versions made from the stone tablets Pegasus first discovered, to every new set developed over the years. It felt more like a library than a warehouse. Here you could see not only the incredible variety of cards but also the traces of history. The display cases preserved not just cards, but every era duel monsters had passed through, the progress of countless explorers. Mokuba didn't say how many cards Kira could take, just take whatever you want. But Kira knew better than to get greedy. Clearing out the whole warehouse would be a bit much. So, he focused on what he needed most. Of course, since duel monsters cards in this world are supernatural, even Kaiba Corp's warehouse doesn't have everything. But this place was already a duelist's dreamland, with many cards that were out of print or unavailable even to the Academy. For example, Kaiba's favorite trap from the DM era, the ancient forbidden card, Crush Card Virus. And Kaiba's version had a different effect from the real-life card. The original card's effect was, tribute a dark monster with 1000 ATK or less to destroy all of your opponent's monsters with 1500 plus ATK on the field and in their hand for 3 turns. It was banned for being too strong and only returned with a nerfed effect in 2015. But even the old real-life effect was different from the anime. In the anime, Kaiba's Crush card could only be triggered when your 1000 or less ATK dark monster was destroyed in battle, then destroyed all of your opponent's 1500 plus ATK monsters in hand, on the field, and in their deck. From today's perspective, that might not be as strong as the old card effect since it needed a monster to be destroyed in battle. Also, destroy all 1500 plus ATK monsters in your opponent's deck essentially sends their whole deck to the graveyard, and against decks that use the graveyard as a second hand, that's almost suicide. But in the early days, before graveyard recycling was common, this was a terrifying power. Kaiba, known for aggressive plays, surprisingly had such a grimy tactic and used it more than once. After considering, Kira added the card to his collection. While it could backfire, in the right situation it was a killer. Most of the other cards he picked up weren't noteworthy, mainly just expanding his fusion support. Though he didn't have a main fusion deck yet, he was planning for strategies centered around instant fusion. The rest were cards that were either useful for specific builds or rare and valuable. Of course, in this era, most fusion monsters without summoning restrictions are scrubs, useful mainly as fodder for instant fusion in the Chaos Phoenix deck. Another rare card that caught his eye was a spirit monster. Tsukuyomi. Level 4, 1100 ATK. When summoned, it turns a face-up monster face down. At the end of the turn, it returns to hand. It's like a Book of Moon once per turn, but costs your normal summon. Seems simple, but it was a top-performing utility card in its early days, and later became limited due to its success in many top decks. It was so influential that people began to downgrade monsters with powerful effects and low def, under 1100, such as the famous Monarch series. Monarchs had great effects, but their def was only 1000, just 100 less than Tsukuyomi. So, your big Monarch could be flipped face down with Tsukuyomi and then punched out, and Tsukuyomi could recycle itself for reuse. So, using just one summon, you could trade for a big tribute monster a great deal resource-wise. All in all, this trip to Kaiba Corp had been incredibly fruitful. Not only did it bring him closer to fully evolving his Chaos deck, but he also got key ritual Chaos materials, greatly powering up his endgame. He remembered there was one more key monster for his deck, a card that could turn the tables even in desperate situations, once banned for being too powerful and simple, Thousand Eyes Restrict. Pegasus's ace monster in Duelist Kingdom, and a rare level 1 fusion. It had 0 ATK and def, but its effect let it absorb an opponent's monster as an equip card, gaining its stats. Not only in Chaos decks, it was a staple in many competitive builds as a boss. Unfortunately, even Kaiba Corp's warehouse didn't have it. Kira even asked Mokuba, who shook his head, no luck. Makes sense, as it was Pegasus's ace, his signature card. You wouldn't expect to find it elsewhere. I think Pegasus did issue a reprint for a tournament promo once, Mokuba recalled. Industrial Illusions might have one. Kira pondered. But he didn't know anyone at Industrial Illusions. Well, he had just thoroughly stomped one of their card professors, maybe that counted as half a connection. But that guy didn't seem likely to want to chat. Before he knew it, he'd spent most of the day in the warehouse. Satisfied, he carried another box of cards out and returned to the office to find Mokuba. Looks like you found what you wanted, Mokuba smiled. Yes, thank you, Kira replied. Mokuba waved it off, no problem. Like I said, the real thanks is not to disappoint my brother on the tournament stage. As long as you give him a good duel, this little investment is nothing. That did sound like the president. After all, the man built satellites and chased souls to the afterlife just to duel. Compared to that, a few cards were trivial. Mokuba stood up, all right, time for me to go. Kira understood, to Tenma Yako's foundation. Yeah, haven't seen that guy in a while. Curious what he's up to this time. But honestly. He looked Kira up and down. I'm surprised he specifically asked to see you, if possible. Me? Yeah, maybe your duel left quite an impression on him, Mokuba said. But don't worry about it if you don't want to go, I'll turn him down for you. So, are you heading back to the academy now, or? Kira thought about it. It was too early to go back, he'd just end up sleeping. I've got nothing going on, Kira shrugged. Since they sincerely invited me, I'll go see what's up. Chapter 141, The Scent of Free Cards. A helicopter bearing the KC logo descended slowly onto the helipad atop the Foundation's building, its black form like a giant dragonfly and the roar of its rotors gradually fading. Kira and Kaiba Mokuba disembarked together, accompanied by a squad of Kaiba Corp's classic sunglasses and suit security, as well as a certain dual security consultant with a dual disc strapped on. So-called dual security consultants are people hired by companies specifically to handle situations that need to be settled by dueling. Kaiba Corp is a bit unique, though, since whenever they run into a strong opponent, the president himself likes to jump in and duel them personally. As a result, most of Kaiba Corp's dual consultants spend their time slacking off. Leading the team was the ever-loyal sunglasses-wearing Roland, who's been by Kaiba's side since the original Duel Monsters series. Though Roland never had many lines, he left a deep impression on early anime fans. For one, Kaiba would always take him everywhere, giving the illusion that he was the company's only bodyguard. Secondly, no matter what happened, this guy was always calm, so calm that it was almost abnormal. During Battle City, when the pressure of the Egyptian gods made everyone in the arena gasp for breath, only Roland, standing as judge, remained unflappable, even calmly reminding duelists to play properly. And when Mr. Pegasus hosted a shadow duel that erased the loser's body, leaving nothing behind, Roland still stood by, blank-faced, as if to say, no big deal, nothing to be alarmed about here. You always got the sense that Roland was some hidden boss who'd seen it all. Now, Roland had become Kaiba's most trusted assistant, serving as head of security and personally leading the way. The Foundation staff were already waiting, greeted them, and led everyone inside. Passing through a wide, brightly lit corridor adorned with expensive paintings, they reached a heavy wooden door at the end. As it slowly opened, it revealed a lavish dining room. Soft lighting cast a warm glow on the exquisitely set table, which was piled high with dishes as beautiful as works of art, filling the air with delicious aromas. Pegasus Tenma stood up and walked over to shake Mokuba's hand. Thank you for coming, he said, pausing. I regret that President Kaiba couldn't join us in person. My brother's abroad. Whatever you need to say to him, you can say to me, Mokuba replied. So, you said there was some misunderstanding between us. What exactly happened? I was just about to explain. But let's not stand, everyone, please have a seat and enjoy some food first. Tenma clapped his hands, and servants immediately came forward to seat everyone. One by one, they took their places. Kira noticed Tenma's group of card professors standing behind him and immediately recognized Kirk Dixon, whom he'd only recently seen in the virtual world. Kira smiled and waved in greeting, but Kirk just scowled, turning away in silence. Looks like Mr. Legendary got a bit of trauma. Whatever the case, Kira figured a free meal was never a loss. After all, he was mostly here to watch the drama and eat. International Illusions was hacked a week ago, Tenma began. A mysterious hacker broke through our firewall and stole a large amount of card data and research files from our servers. Mokuba frowned. You got hacked? Seriously? Yes. There aren't many people in the world with that kind of skill. Tenma sipped a bit of red wine. When we analyzed the hacking technique, there were some technical features that seemed very familiar. Oh? Who do you suspect? Tenma enunciated, Kaiba Corporation. Impossible, Mokuba shot back. We never have, and we have no reason to hack international illusions. But as soon as he spoke, he realized the motive wasn't entirely out of the question. After all, there was some old history between them and Tenma. I thought so too. That's why I'm just here to confirm, just in case. Now that I know it wasn't Kaiba Corp, if we've bothered you, the Foundation is willing to make amends. So that's why you tried to break into the link system, because it's connected to our dual terminals, and you wanted to access our data. Mokuba pondered. It's not a loss for us. But do you think the hacker is connected to us? I know Kaiba Corp has also had hacker problems lately, Tenma replied, dodging the question. There are very few people who could breach both our company's systems. Sounds like you have a lead. Mokuba asked. A suspect? To call it a suspect might not be exact, Tenma said gravely. It might not even be a human. Mokuba was shocked. What do you mean? Tenma shifted gears. Kaiba Corp used to be a world leader in AI research. Your team was considered the closest in the world to creating true digital life, right? You mean AI? Mokuba shook his head. Impossible. Sito and I ordered all digital life research stopped a long time ago. Ever since that incident, we shut everything down. He paused. We only work on Duel Ace now. Kira could guess that incident referred to the Noah arc in the DM anime. Kaiba Corp hadn't just come close to creating digital life, they'd succeeded. But after Noah's AI went berserk and tried to seize their real bodies, they banned further digital life research. Now, their current ace, like the AI Kaiba Kira had faced, were just pure duel programs. They could simulate the real Kaiba's tactics, personality and play style, but ultimately, they were just copies, with no true mind or soul. True sentient AI would be like Noah, an actual person living in the digital world. The only digital life ever created died years ago, Mokuba said darkly. There's nothing like that anymore. That's not certain, Tenma replied, leaning back in his chair. I'm just offering a line of inquiry. Whether you believe it or how you want to follow up is up to you. Mokuba frowned, silent. About a minute of silence passed. Everyone ate quietly, as Tenma took another sip of wine. He then took a napkin from a servant and wiped his mouth. Once again, it's a shame President Kaiba couldn't be here. Since that incident, we haven't met again, and I've always wanted to apologize to him in person. He paused, then added, whether as a representative of illusions or as a duelist. Mokuba said nothing. I think I can guess what Kaiba's thinking, Tenma said, closing his eyes. He believes it was the wicked god who beat him, not me, right? Now that the wicked god is gone, I'm not a worthy opponent for him, is that it? Mokuba smiled. That's not for me to say. That's your assumption. But he didn't deny it. It was true, even Mokuba thought so. Back then, Kaiba lost not to Tenma, but to the wicked god. Like the Egyptian gods, the wicked gods' cards didn't just have powerful effects, they also granted their users immense luck and destiny. Not to mention, at the time, Tenma's mind was under the card's influence, practically controlled by it. After Yugi defeated Tenma, it was said that Pegasus destroyed the wicked god cards. So, in Kaiba's eyes, Tenma was just the vessel of that card, not the man who once beat him. Even if Tenma showed up to challenge him now, it would be meaningless. I get it. I can't deny it. Still, as a duelist, it's hard not to feel a bit frustrated. Tenma smiled, then opened his eyes and turned his gaze to Kira, who'd been quietly focused on eating this whole time. You're Fujiki Kira, right? A student at Duel Academy. Kira looked up. Wait, why is the spotlight on me now? First, thank you for teaching my card professor a lesson today. I've told them there's always someone stronger, but it seems first-hand experience works best. No problem, Kira waved it off. If you're grateful, you could let me check out Pegasus's warehouse. Kirk gave you a very special evaluation, so I looked into you a bit. Turns out, you're the one who beat the hijacked AI at Cape Island. No wonder Kaiba took notice of you. Kira rested his chin on his hand. He could smell the scent of free cards. Tenma, so, if you don't mind, I have a presumptuous request. At that moment, a servant stepped up and handed Tenma a duel disc already loaded with a deck. Would you duel me? Chapter 142, He's doing this on purpose. Just as expected. When Kira heard Tenma wanted to see him, he half-guessed it would be about dueling. He was just an unknown first year at Duel Academy, maybe a little famous on campus, but not the sort of person to attract Tenma's attention. So, the only reason Tenma might want to see him was because he'd beaten up Tenma's card professor earlier, and rather ruthlessly at that. Or maybe he'd heard about how Kira had trounced the AI Blue Eyes and gained the reputation of the man noticed by Seto Kaiba himself. Whatever the reason, there was only one, a duel. Honestly, Kira had kind of guessed this before coming, so he was ready for it. According to Duel Academy's card drawing curriculum, dueling strong opponents is the best way to grow. The stronger the opponent, the more you improve. But of course, he wasn't going to duel for nothing. While Kira was thinking, Mokuba spoke up first, "That's fine, but if it's just a duel, isn't that a bit boring?" Tenma replied calmly, "And what do you suggest? I remember last year's Illusions tournament gave out replicas of Pegasus's Thousand Eyes Restrict as prizes, right? If I'm not mistaken, there should still be some left." Kira raised his eyebrows. "Wow, Mokuba already knows what I'm thinking before I even say it. Now that's teamwork." "I see," Tenma smiled. "Yes, there are 2 left. If you're interested, feel free to take one." Mokuba grinned, exchanging a look with Kira. "Well? Want to give it a try?" Truth be told, he wanted to see Kira duel too. There was something special about the way this guy dueled. "Then I'll gladly accept," Kira smiled, standing up. "Please, Mr. Tenma, let's duel." The 2 left the dining room and followed Tenma to the dueling arena. Duel X2. Kira, LP 4000. Tenma, LP 4000. "I'll go first." Draw. Tenma slapped down a monster card. "I summon Dawn Turtle in defense position. Dawn Turtle, Def 1200. When Dawn Turtle is summoned, I can special summon any number of Dawn Turtles from my hand." He drew 2 more cards. "I special summon 2 more Dawn Turtles. Dawn Turtle, Def 1200 x2. Next, I activate the continuous spell Precious Cards from Beyond. As long as this card is on the field, when I tribute 2 or more monsters for a tribute summon, I draw 2 cards." He swept his hand, and a card projection appeared on the field. "I set a card face down and end my turn." "My turn." Kira drew. Tenma, though he'd been controlled by the Wicked God back in the day, should still count as a legendary duelist. There are levels to legends, though, and Tenma should be stronger than, say, Rex Raptor or the Paradox Brothers. So, Kira went with his updated main deck. I normal summon Defender of Nephthys. A gift from the new Dorma 3 Swordsman's Shell. A girl with long silver hair in golden armor and a burning red cloak appeared. Defender of Nephthys, ATK 1400. Defender of Nephthys's effect, destroy a card in my hand, then special summon a level 4 or lower Nephthys monster from my hand except Defender of Nephthys. The Defender of Nephthys swung her sword, flames consuming a card in his hand. I special summon Hand of Nephthys. Hand of Nephthys, ATK 600. Tenma mused, a Nephthys deck. He remembered that was a rare archetype. The card I destroyed was the quick play spell Silent Burning. Kira took the spell from his graveyard. By banishing this card from the graveyard, I add Silent Magician from my deck to my hand. He searched for the card and shuffled his deck. Silent Magician can't be normal summoned, but can be special summoned by tributing a spellcaster monster on the field. So, I tribute my Defender of Nephthys. Wings of Silent Hope, Magician of Light appear now. Silent Magician, summon. The fiery swordswoman vanished in a white light, replaced by a silver-haired magician surrounded by an ethereal glow. Silent Magician, ATK 1000. I see. The Nephthys followers are all spellcasters, so they can be used to summon Silent Magician. And discarding a card for Defender of Nephthys's effect sends Silent Burning to the graveyard, setting up the search for Silent Magician. Tenma smiled. Unexpected synergy between 2 archetypes. Both Silent Magician and Nephthys are rare in this world, so combining them is something new. I can special summon Jester Kofi from my hand in attack mode, so I do. Jester Kofi, ATK 0. Now for Hand of Nephthys effect, Kira said. By tributing itself and another monster, I can special summon Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys from my hand or deck. I tribute Jester Kofi and Hand of Nephthys. From the ancient Phoenix Fire, descend under the guidance of flames. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, summon. A burst of flames shaped like wings, and a golden divine bird appeared amidst fire. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, ATK 2400. The card professors in the back all looked shocked. He summoned 2 ace monsters in the first turn. Silent Magician and Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, either one could be an ace for a deck. Especially Kirk Dixon, who'd just been beaten earlier. He stared, eyes wide. So, you don't just use those annoying Ojima trio, hey? You pull out this lineup right away. This is strong. So why did you use those cheap tricks on me? Just to mess with my head? Kirk's face turned darker, sinking deeper into frustration. Chapter 143, King of Beasts. Tenma narrowed his eyes. Summoning Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys and Silent Magician in the first turn. Silent Magician's ATK increases by 500 for each card in my hand. Kira gestured to Silent Magician. I have 2 cards in hand, so ATK increases by 1000. Silent Magician, ATK 1000 2000. Silent Magician attacks Dawn Turtle. She stepped forward, magic surging from her staff, but Tenma interrupted. I activate my set card, Continuous Trap Ultimate Offering. I can pay 500 life points to normal summon a monster from my hand. Mokuba, normal summon during the opponent's turn. That's right, and the card I summon is this. Tenma, LP 40003500. Tenma raised a card. I tribute my 3 Dawn Turtles. Mokuba, 3 tributes? That's the same cost as a god. Exactly. Now, behold my ace, ruler of the earth, ancient beast. Beast King Barbaros, summon. A storm raged, clouds gathered, and a dazzling light shot down as Barbaros appeared, half man, half beast, riding thunder. Beast King Barbaros, ATK 3000. Precious cards from Beyond's effect. When I tribute 2 or more monsters for a tribute summon, I draw 2 cards. Tenma drew, then continued. And now, Beast King Barbaros effect. When summoned with 3 tributes, destroy all cards your opponent controls. Mokuba, such a powerful effect. Kira raised an eyebrow. Ultimate Offering allows summoning during the opponent's turn, and with Barbaros effect, that's a board wipe at quick speed. Not bad. Barbaros unleashed lightning, obliterating the field. The Silent Magician's circle shattered, and the Phoenix was consumed by thunder. The experts watching all held their breath. That powerful formation was wiped out before it could even attack. But Silent Magician has a follow-up effect, Kira said. If destroyed by battle or card effect, I can special summon another Silent Magician from my hand or deck, ignoring summoning conditions. From the intersection of chaos and order, let the light of silence shine forth. Silent Magician LV8. White light formed a magic circle, and the magician, now transformed, reappeared on the field. Silent Magician LV8, ATK 3500. Silent Magician counterattacks. Kira ordered. Attack Beast King Barbaros. Silent Magic Burst. Her staff unleashed a glowing orb, lightning swirling around it, piercing Barbaros through the chest. He collapsed, trailing sparks. Tenma, LP 35003000. Tenma raised an arm to shield himself. To counterattack after enduring the king's thunder. Kira smiled. Actually, not only could Silent Magician revive, so could the Phoenix, and its effect would clear all spells and traps next turn. So, in a way, Barbaros' wipe was pointless. The experts all swallowed nervously. Summoning such a powerful formation, then having it wiped out, only for the opponent to instantly recover, this was some duel. Kira drew a card and set one. I set a card and end my turn. Tenma took a deep breath, smiling. I think I'm starting to understand why Kaiba Sito is interested in you. Kira, hey. Nothing. My turn. Draw, Tenma said. I activate the spell cards, spell books from the pot. Both players draw 3 cards. Anime card. He glanced at his hand, then played another. I summon Red Gear. Red Gadget, ATK 1300. Red Gadget's effect, when summoned, add Yellow Gadget from my deck to my hand. He searched his deck and revealed Yellow Gadget. I activate Ultimate Offering again, paying 500 LP to normal summon another monster. Tenma, LP 30002500. I normal summon Yellow Gadget. Yellow Gadget, ATK 1200. Yellow Gadget's effect, on summon, add Green Gadget from deck to hand. He searched and revealed Green Gadget. Once again, I use Ultimate Offering, paying 500 LP to normal summon green gadget. Tenma, LP 25002000. Green gadget, ATK 1400. And again, I use ultimate offering, paying 500 LP for another normal summon. Tenma, LP 20001500. I tribute red, yellow, and green gadgets. Beast King Barbaros, summon again. The 3 gadgets turned into golden light, and Barbaros descended once again, wielding his lance and shield. Kira considered. Wow, you have a backup plan for the ace too? Precious cards from beyond triggers again 2 or more tributes, I draw 2 cards. Tenma drew, checked his hand, then said. And Barbaros's effect again, summoned with 3 tributes, destroy all cards your opponent controls. Lightning struck again, sweeping across Kira's field. But Kira activated his set card. I chain my set card Floodgate Trap Hole. When you summon a monster, it's switched to face down defense, and can't change its position. He pointed at Barbaros, crackling with electricity. Set Beast King Barbaros face down. The storm swept the field, and Silent Magician LV8 was forced off, but Barbaros, overconfident, slipped and fell face down. Even so, your defense isn't so easy to break, hey. Tenma grinned, even more interested. I set 3 cards and end my turn. Chapter 144, The Decisive All-Out Attack. My turn, draw. The instant Kira drew his card, a dazzling blaze erupted from the dual disc's graveyard zone. A fiery bird soared skyward. It was as if the tranquil sky had been torn open. Countless blazing particles gathered into form, swirling in the air, as if fire itself had been given life. The rising flames unleashed tremendous energy, gradually taking on a majestic shape, a golden divine bird, its feathers shimmering with radiant light, its eyes burning like stars, noble and imposing. When Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, it can revive itself during my next standby phase. So, Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys is revived, said Kira. Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, ATK 2400. Furthermore, when revived by its effect, all spell and trap cards on both sides of the field are destroyed. The onlookers gasped, it can wipe the back row when revived. The combo of Silent Magician and Nephthys has minimized the benefits Lord Tenma got from Beast King's board wipe, remarked a woman with a black headband. Tillamook, a card professor who had once dueled Yugi and a top vampire deck user under Tenma. Lord Tenma made the most out of Beast King Barbaros's destructive power, yet it was resolved so effortlessly. Not only that, but this boy keeps finding chances to counterattack while defending. The other experts nodded in agreement. Indeed. Although it seemed like Tenma was always on the offensive, he had spent most of his life points attacking, while Kira's LP remained untouched. Is he just a Duel Academy student? Tillamook frowned. Honestly, he's already stronger than many of us card professors. Kirk. Is Phoenix's wipe setting up a follow-up offensive? Tenma said gravely. But it won't be that easy. He activated a face-down card, Continuous Trap Fiendish Chain. With these evil chains, I bind one monster on the field, it can't attack and its effect is negated. Sinister green chains shot out from the trap card, binding the phoenix. The golden divine bird struggled, but its flames dimmed the scene. Suddenly looked oddly like some kind of bondage play. Phoenix's effect is negated, so my back row is safe, Tenma said. Main phase then, Kira revealed another card. I activate the spell card Dark Hole. All monsters on the field are destroyed. A pitch-black vortex appeared, like a rift in the Milky Way, threatening to erase everything with its gravity. Tenma frowned, destroying my defense while freeing Phoenix from Fiendish Chain, so it can clear my back row again next turn? A clever move, but... He raised his hand, flipping another set card. I activate the counter trap Magic Drain. When your spell is activated, negate it and destroy it. Unless you discard a spell from your hand to negate this card. Kira, I won't discard a spell. Then Dark Hole is negated. The black vortex vanished instantly, and the storm of gravity dissipated, returning the field to silence. Kira, then I'll normal summon Mystic Tomato in attack position. Mystic Tomato, ATK 1400. Mystic Tomato attacks your face-down Beast King Barbaros. The spectators' hearts leaped as the grinning tomato bounced forward, headbutting the face-down monster. Oh no, the silly tomato's attacking the king. Beast King Barbaros has 3000 ATK but only 1200 def. Now he's going to suffer the shame of being headbutted by a mere tomato. But Tenma wasn't about to let the attack through. I flip my set card. Counter trap negate attack. Negate your attack and forcefully end the battle phase. A counter vortex opened, and the little tomato was knocked back, dizzy and disappointed at missing the chance for a KO. Kira, then I'll set a card and end my turn. My turn, draw. Tenma played the card he drew. Activate Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards. He drew, then immediately played another. Activate spell card Magical Planter. Send a continuous spell you control to the graveyard to draw 2 cards. Anime effect. Though the real card now only works with continuous traps, in this duel, with both types on the field, it made no difference. I send precious cards from beyond to the graveyard, and draw 2 cards. Tenma paused after drawing, then smiled slightly. My hunch was right. There's a reason Seto Kaiba took an interest in you. You truly are a duelist worth going all out against. So, I'll duel with everything I've got. I summon my evolved ultimate monster. The card professors' faces changed. They knew what was coming. Is Lord Tenma about to bring out that? Tilla crossed her arms, smiling. Things are getting interesting. Tenma revealed a card. Activate the spell polymerization. I fuse the Beast King Barbaros on my field with Machine Lordur in my hand. Machine Lordur appeared, and both monsters merged into a swirl of golden light, vanishing into the fusion vortex. A new beast took shape, a spiral lance, red armor gleaming with a metallic sheen. The King of Beasts donned crimson metal, returning even more formidable. Beast Machine King Barbarosur, Fusion Summon. This is Tenma's true ace, summoned in the manga after breaking free from the Wicked God's control. In the real card game, this was changed to an effect monster. Beast Machine King Barbarosur, ATK 3800. It's here Lord Tenma's strongest monster. The professors stirred, even they hadn't seen Tenma duel this seriously in years. Tenma, then, I normal summon Seraphim Saber from my hand. Anime card. Seraphim Saber, ATK 1600. A level 4 fairy type monster that raises the ATK of other fairies by 300. Nothing special, but a classic from Tenma's arsenal. Continuous Trap Ultimate Offering is activated. Tenma declared. I pay 500 life points for an extra normal summon. Tenma, LP 1500 1000. I pay another 500 LP, tribute Seraphim Saber. Level 6, Twin-Headed Beast, summon. Twin-Headed Beast, ATK 1700. This turn, I'll launch my decisive all-out attack. Tenma called. If you can withstand it, show me. Chapter 145, Evenly Match. Beast Machine King Barbarosur, attack Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys. The Machine King roared, thunder echoing across the battlefield. Its red armor flashed coldly, its massive body charged with the force of lightning. Kira, I activate my face-down continuous trap spirit barrier. As long as I control a monster, I take no battle damage. Phoenix was pierced by thunder, exploding in a fireball. But the flames formed a burning barrier, blocking the Machine King's charge. You blocked the damage, hey? But it's not over yet. Tenma smiled. Barbarosur's special ability, it can attack up to as many monsters as its level each turn. Manga effect. This manga-style description is a bit unorthodox, but it's essentially like Chimer Attack over Dragon. It can attack as many times as its level, but only monsters. Beast Machine King is level 8, so it can attack up to 8 monsters in one turn. Even Mokuba's expression changed, a monster that can attack 8 times in one turn. Kira, though, was calm. Small potatoes. If you've seen Chimer Attack over Dragon with 10,000 plus ATK hitting a dozen times in a turn, this isn't that shocking. Tenma shouted, Barbarosur's second attack Mystic Tomato. The tomato was instantly crushed by the overwhelming might of the Machine King. But with Spirit Barrier, I take no damage, Kira said. And I activate Mystic Tomato's effect when destroyed by battle. I special summon a dark monster with 1500 or less ATK from my deck. I special summon a second Mystic Tomato. Mystic Tomato, ATK 1400. Not enough. Barbarosur's third attack. The second tomato was also crushed, but Kira kept summoning, still no damage, and I special summon a third Mystic Tomato. Mystic Tomato, ATK 1400. Pointless. Barbaros's fourth attack. All the loyal tomatoes were wiped out, but Kira continued, I used tomatoes effect again to special summon a dark monster with 1400 or less ATK. I special summon Apprentice Magician in attack position. Apprentice Magician, ATK 400. Tenma, then the fifth attack destroy Apprentice Magician. The apprentice was also KO'd, but Spirit Barrier blocked the damage. Kira searched his deck again. Apprentice Magician's effect when destroyed by battle, I can set a level 2 or lower spellcaster from my deck. I set Apprentice Magician number 2. The onlookers were speechless. How long can he keep this up? Tenma frowned slightly, then the sixth attack. Apprentice number 2 was also taken out unsurprisingly, Kira brought out number 3. Seventh attack, Tenma ordered. Apprentice number 3 was also KO'd, but its effect triggered again. Kira set a level 1 Magician of Faith from his deck. Tenma raised his hand, eighth attack the final blow. The last Magician was gone, the chain finally broken. Magician of Faith was destroyed, but Kira retrieved a spell card from the grave. When Magician of Faith is flipped, I can add a spell card from my graveyard to my hand. I recover Dark Hole. The card professors tensed up, he got Dark Hole back, he's going to wipe the board next turn. Tenma frowned but continued, but my attacks aren't over. Now your wall is gone. Twin-headed beast attacks directly. The beast charged at Kira's now empty field. But just before it hit, Kira's hand flashed gold, a fuzzy little Kuriba leaped out, Kuri, and blocked the hit. Only in Yu-Gi-Oh! Could a Kuriba heroically jump out to take a hit. By discarding Kuriba, you reduce the battle damage to 0. Tenma said gravely. You can defend to this extent, but Twin-Headed Beast's special effect allows it to attack twice per turn. Second attack. This time, the offensive finally broke through, striking Kira and forcing him back 2 steps. Kira, LP 4000-2300. The card professors gasped. His life points finally dropped. Even from an observer's perspective, they could feel how hard-earned that hit was. 10 attacks in a single turn and Kira blocked almost all of them. Tenma, I set a card and end my turn. Kira, my turn, draw. Tenma immediately acted, I activate my Trap Thunder of Ruler. This card can only be used during your standby phase, you can't enter your battle phase this turn. Tilla, from the sidelines, true, that's the best way to stop an opponent's attack. But Lord Tenma had to go this far just to slow things down. Indeed, another card professor nodded. That shows how much pressure his opponent is giving him. This was already beyond anything a student duelist could handle. I activate Pot of Greed, draw 2 cards. Kira quickly drew, then played the card he'd recovered, spell card Dark Hole. Destroy all monsters on the field. Thanks to Magician of Faith, the most powerful board wipe was back. Tenma's mighty Machine King and Beast were both sucked into the vortex and shredded to pieces. Field cleared in an instant. Kira, I set a monster and end my turn. That was close. If not for Thunder of Ruler, he might have finished Lord Tenma off after that Dark Hole, a card professor muttered. The others were silent, but all were doing their calculations. Chapter 146, The Envoy of the Beginning. My turn, draw. Tenma slapped down the card he drew. I summon Lancer Lindworm. Despite the name, it was a dragon-type monster, green wings, spiral lance in hand, glaring at Kira's set monster. Lancer Lindworm, ATK 1800. Lancer Lindworm inflicts piercing damage when attacking defense position monsters, Tenma said. Attack. Lancer Lindworm's wings beat as its lance struck. But with Spirit Barrier on the field, as long as I control a monster, I take no battle damage even from piercing effects, Kira replied. And the monster you attacked is? The set monster flipped face up, revealing a grinning, single-eyed pot. Morphing Jar. Kira announced. When this card is flipped, both players discard their entire hands and draw 5 cards from their decks. Though its slow flip effect is outdated now, Morphing Jar was once a powerful forbidden card and a comeback tool in tournaments. Like Sacred Phoenix of Nephthys, this was a farewell gift, loot, from Shell, one of the new Dorma 3 swordmen. Though he's gone, his will and cards will be inherited. So, with Morphing Jar's effect, Kira drew 5 cards at once. Tenma replenished his hand as well, eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation. Tenma, I set 2 cards and end my turn. My turn. Kira drew, paused for a moment, then smiled. As expected of Mr. Tenma, truly impressive. Looks like if I don't bring out my real strength, I'll be in trouble. The card professors were stunned. So up to now, this wasn't his real strength? Oh. Tenma looked quite intrigued. So, you were holding back until now? Not exactly. Kira smiled, drawing a card. All right, here I go. He raised his right arm and on the field, a swirling black vortex opened as if leading to the underworld. Two energies, one light and one dark, rose into the sky and intertwined. I banish the light magician of faith and the dark apprentice magician from my graveyard. Souls of light and darkness, offered to the field of chaos, summon the legendary warrior. The world is split open. Black luster soldier, envoy of the beginning, summon. From the surging chaos, light and darkness intertwined. At the height of chaos, a powerful force burst forth like the rising sun. Darkness was dispelled, the blade of light and darkness cut through the chaos, and the warrior's armor gleamed with mystery as he strode into the storm. Black luster soldier, envoy of the beginning, ATK 3000. Envoy of the beginning. Many onlookers couldn't hide their shock. That legendary warrior, in the hands of a mere student? Mokuba nodded approvingly. Oh, looks like you've mastered the power of chaos now. Big brother would be proud, too. Envoy of the beginning, attack Lancer Lindworm. Kira ordered. Chaos double slash. The warrior's blade split the air with light and darkness, inflicting 1,200 points of battle damage. Tenma was down to 1,000 LP. The attack would decide the match. Then I activate Ultimate Offerings effect, Tenma replied. Pay 500 LP for a normal summon. I tribute Lancer Lindworm and summon Cursed of Dragon in defense position. Tenma, LP 10000500. Cursed of Dragon, Def 1500. I see, using that to block the attack and avoid damage, Kira realized. Ultimate Offerings effect can only be activated during the main phase or the opponent's battle phase. That's why Tenma couldn't use it after drawing with Morphing Jar the last turn, otherwise, he would have summoned a new wall then. But if the card didn't have that restriction, or if Tenma had chosen to attack last turn, he'd have paid his LP down to 500 and wouldn't be able to use it this turn. The blade fell, splitting Cursed Dragon in two. It exploded and vanished from the field. Envoy of the Beginning's effect, when it destroys a monster by battle, it can attack again. The card professors tensed. Tenma's defense was razor thin, but it wasn't over. The envoy could attack again this time, it would mean defeat. And with only 500 LP left, Tenma couldn't pay for another wall. But Tenma immediately revealed another card. When a monster on my field is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, I can special summon this card from my hand. Interplanetary Perplite Horny Dragon, defense position. Who came up with this name, LOL? Interplanetary Perplite Horny Dragon, Def 1100. The second slash of the envoy fell, sword energy filling the sky. The Thorn Dragon was pierced and collapsed in a shower of blade light. But Tenma flipped his set card. I activate my Trap Time Machine. When a monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, I can special summon it back to its original position. I revive Interplanetary Perplite Horny Dragon. A heavy black machine emerged from the mists of time, and time reversed on the field. Before the smoke cleared, the broken pieces were drawn back together, and the purple-black dragon reappeared. Interplanetary Perplite Horny Dragon, Def 1100. He blocked both attacks from the envoy and kept a monster on the field. Mokuba nodded. As expected of Pegasus's prized pupil, Tenma has some tricks up his sleeve. Kira wasn't surprised that his attack had been stopped. Then I set 2 cards and end my turn. Chapter 147, No Cheating Allowed. Tenma took a deep breath. His life points were down to 500, and the field was almost empty. Meanwhile, his opponent still had the legendary Envoy of the Beginning, a dual monsters icon, on the field. It was as unfavorable as it could get, an almost hopeless situation. But why? Why couldn't he stop trembling? That's it. This feeling. Standing before a top-tier opponent, burning everything he had as a duelist, this thrill of giving it his all in battle. Mokuba had been right. Back then, after dueling Yugi Muto, he'd helped shake off the mind control of the 3 wicked gods, but right after that, he'd felt his limit. For years, he'd felt unable to surpass his limit, as if he'd reached his potential. But that's exactly why he craved powerful opponents. Only by fighting the strong could he be pushed to break his limits and reach new heights. And now, unexpectedly, against a first year at Duel Academy, he found that feeling again. No doubt, this was an opponent worth giving his all to try and break through. Even though he was the one with the legendary duelist title, and the other was just a student, Tenma naturally placed himself as the challenger. He would cross this chasm, and achieve his breakthrough. My turn, draw. Tenma declared. I activate the spell card Pot of Greed to draw 2 cards. After drawing, Tenma squinted and couldn't help but smile. It seemed he'd drawn the reversal he needed. First, I activate the spell card Level Award. Tenma continued. I select a monster I control and change its level to any value from 0 to 8. Original manga card. He'd also used this card against Yugi in the manga. I choose my Interplanetary Perplite Horny Dragon and raise its level to 8. Interplanetary Perplite Horny Dragon, LV5 LV8. Mokuba raised an eyebrow. A level adjusting card. That's right, this is the final setup for the arrival of my new power. Tenma slowly drew a card from his hand. This is the first time I'm using this new power in front of anyone. I never thought it would be in a situation like this. Kira frowned a little. What was with this card suspense-like action? But you are indeed an opponent worthy of my full strength, so watch closely the evolved form of the King of Divine Beasts. I tribute my level 8 Interplanetary Perplite Horny Dragon to special summon from my hand. He raised the monster card high above his head. Even before the summon, it felt as if a storm was rising. The heartbeat of the divine beast shakes the earth, crossing the river of time. Beast King Barbaros, summon. The earth trembled, and the divine beast emerged from the storm, its golden mane gleaming as if wrapped in a divine halo. Its eyes shone sharp as blades. The sphinx-like giant beast slammed its claws into the ground, sending swirling dust and sand into a vortex. King Beast Barbaros, summoned. Kira eyed Barbaros's new skin. Tenma truly hadn't been idle, he'd given his ace a new form. King Beast Barbaros, ATK 3000. This card is level 8, but it doesn't require 2 tributes to normal summon. You can special summon it by tributing monsters with a combined level of 8 or higher. Tenma declared. And, once per turn, King Beast Barbaros can banish Barbaros monsters from your field or graveyard to destroy up to 2 cards your opponent controls. Mokuba was shocked. What a powerful effect! That's right. This is the evolved form of the Beast King. If you want to defeat my final trump card, go ahead and try. Tenma said. I banish Beast King Barbaros from my graveyard to destroy Black Luster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning and your set card on the left. Kira immediately responded. Counter Trap Divine Wrath. By discarding a card, I negate and destroy the effect of an effect monster. Tenma was startled. Even at this point, he'd still hidden such a trap. He'd used up all his resources. King Beast was both his ace and his last card. If Barbaros got countered here, he'd have no way back. No way. Counter Trap Destruction Jammer. Tenma's back row activated. Discard a card to negate and destroy a card that would destroy monsters on the field. Divine Wrath's thunder crashed down but struck only a transparent shield. The ripples spread, and the backlash destroyed Divine Wrath itself. Counter successful. King Beast's effect goes through. Tenma cried. Destroy Black Luster Soldier and that set card. The King Beast's thunder swept the field, instantly clearing Kira's side. Black Luster Soldier exploded in the lightning, and the set card A Magic Cylinder was also destroyed. And the card I discarded was Card of Compensation, which lets me draw 2 cards when sent from hand to graveyard. Manga card. You had Divine Wrath and a Magic Cylinder on your field. That's some solid defense, Tenma said. But now, your defenses are wiped out. Even the watching card professors seemed to think the duel was decided. But to push Lord Tenma this far. Tilla commented. And he's just a student. What a scary boy. This one would surely go far. But Tenma didn't relax. Is it over? No, as long as you have life points, never let your guard down. He could sense this opponent was different. He'd only removed the obvious defenses, the opponent might still have countermeasures. I activate the spell card exchange. Tenma said. We reveal our hands and each take a card from the other's hand. The card professors were stunned. Hadn't he already won? Why swap cards now? Such terrifying intuition. Kira revealed his hand. Tenma narrowed his eyes. Just as he thought. Kitoroid. By discarding it from your hand, you can block direct attack damage, a last resort defense. A card professor gasped. He still had a counter in hand. Lord Tenma even predicted that. Tenma, then I'll take your Kitoroid. Kira, I'll take your GAAP, the Divine Soldier. A card Tenma had used in the manga, a level 6, 2200 ATK Fiend. Not that useful, but he had nothing else. Tenma only had that left. He even removed Kira's last defense. This guy's impressive, Mokuba muttered. He glanced at Kira again. Was this the end for him? Well, to bring Tenma this far was already quite something. King Beast Barbaros, direct attack. Tenma raised his hand and shouted. The finishing blow, his final offensive. But he had a strange feeling. Even after all this, maybe this attack was still one step short. Sure enough, just as the King Beast's blow landed, a surge of electricity erupted from Kira's side like a transparent shield. Magnetic repulsion forced the King Beast back. Kira, from the graveyard, electromagnetic turtles effect. Once per duel, during the opponent's battle phase, I can banish it to immediately end the battle phase. Tenma let out a long breath. Somehow, though it was a little disappointing the attack didn't go through, he wasn't surprised. When did you send it to the graveyard? Tenma asked. Kira, morphing jar. I see. Tenma mused. So you set up such a deep defense so early. He smiled and shook his head. Then, my turn ends. Chapter 148, The Strongest Warrior. My turn, draw, Kira said. I activate the spell card trade in, discard a level 8 monster from my hand to draw 2 cards from my deck. Kira revealed a card. I'll discard this level 8 Black Luster Soldier. Not the envoy of the beginning, but the original ritual version first used by Yugi Muto. Naturally, Kira hadn't had this card before, he'd gotten it this trip from the Black Luster Soldier research group at Kaiba Corp headquarters. Tenma's eyelids twitched. The legendary warrior. But he knew ever since Envoy of the Beginning was developed, it had been seen as Black Luster Soldier's evolved form. The old ritual version was now more collectible than useful, so what could he do with it now? Discard Black Luster Soldier to draw 2 cards. Kira drew, then spoke calmly. Mr. Tenma, your passion as a duelist has inspired me. Thank you for letting me be the first to face the new form of Barbaros. As a return gift. He slowly drew a card from his hand. I'll also show you a never-before-seen new form of Black Luster Soldier. Everyone was shocked. A new form of Black Luster Soldier? Some of the quicker card professors glanced at Mokuba. Kaiba Corp had the top research teams working on this. They'd heard about it. Did they make a breakthrough? Mokuba quickly caught on. You're going to test that here? Yes, I promised the team leader I'd test it in real battle and send back data. There's no better duel or opponent. I activate the spell card Reinforcement of the Army to add a level 4 or lower warrior from my deck to my hand. I add this card. He drew the card. Level 4 warrior beginning night. Tenma held his breath. Just a level 4 warrior, but it gave him a bad feeling. Then I activate the ritual spell Super Soldier Synthesis. Kira raised the spell card. This card lets me send a light or dark monster from my hand to the grave, then send a monster of the opposite attribute from my deck to the grave, to ritual summon Black Luster Soldier from hand or graveyard. Everyone was shocked. Pick materials from the deck? Ritual summon from the graveyard? I send my just added light beginning night from hand and dark evening twilight night from the deck as materials to ritual summon. Light and darkness, black and white, the young nights became streams of energy, merging like a whirlpool pouring into the galaxy. One soul leads to light, one to darkness, the gates of chaos open. A storm of chaos erupted, sword light splitting the heavens. A pillar of light descended, infinite particles forming the knight's figure amid the maelstrom. The sword cut through the light, and the knight's armor shone like stars. Black Luster Soldier, summon. Black Luster Soldier, ATK 3000. The pressure was even greater than Envoy of the Beginning, reminding Tenma of the time when the gods descended, a storm swirling in the dueling arena. It felt as if, at the moment Black Luster Soldier appeared, the battlefield belonged to him. But even so, his attack is only equal to King Beast, Tenma said. And he doesn't have any special abilities that can surpass King Beast. Because everyone knows, Black Luster Soldier is a vanilla no-effect text. He said this, but inside Tenma felt a faint anticipation. He could sense something different about this Black Luster Soldier. Black Luster Soldier, effect activate. Kira waved his hand. Once per turn, banish one monster your opponent controls. Nanny. Tenma was shocked. His face said, don't joke with me, I know that card doesn't have an effect. Or did it gain effects even though nothing's written? Dimensional slash. All watched as Black Luster Soldier's sword cut through, its energy slicing space itself, the massive king beast sucked into the dimensional rift. Tenma. Why? But he quickly guessed, those two ritual materials. He'd thought earlier they looked like young versions of Black Luster Soldier. There had to be some trick. Correct, Kira smiled. Beginning Night's effect gives the ritual summoned Black Luster Soldier an extra effect. One is dimensional slash once per turn, banish an opponent's monster. I see, so it's given Black Luster Soldier an ability like Envoy of the Beginning. Tenma smiled faintly. But even so, you haven't forgotten, have you? Tenma reminded. During exchange last turn, I took a card from your hand. Kira nodded. Kaitoroid discard to make direct attack damage 0. In the graveyard, it can nullify one direct attack. Right, Tenma smiled. How will you break your barrier? Kira smiled. Black Luster Soldier, activate another effect. Tenma was shocked. Your vanilla has a second effect? He quickly realized. The other ritual material just now. Correct. When Evening Twilight Night is used as ritual material, Black Luster Soldier gains another effect, Kira said. Once per turn, randomly banish one card from your opponent's hand until the end of their next turn. Tenma. Such a powerful effect. You only have one card in hand, so it must be Kaitoroid, Kira said. So, I banish Kaitoroid. Twilight Dimensional Slash. The sword's light and darkness swept out, this time targeting a hand card. The sword light flashed, and Tenma's Kaitoroid vanished, banished to another dimension. Battle phase. Kira commanded. Black Luster Soldier, direct attack on Mr. Tenma. Black Luster Soldier leaped, his sword of light and darkness transforming into thousands of blades that rained down like a storm. Tenma looked up at the shining knight. The dazzling sword storm mesmerized him. So this is Black Luster Soldier's new evolution. Chapter 149, Getting Funds. The chaotic blade fell, drawing the curtain on the duel. Even after the duel image faded, the card professors were still stunned, staring at where Black Luster Soldier disappeared, speechless. Still in shock that a vanilla monster has effects. Tenma, however, quickly stood up. A fine duel. I lost. He pondered, Black Luster Soldier, gaining such powerful abilities through ritual materials, so this is the true path of chaos evolution? So all our research until now was off track. He glanced at Mokuba. No wonder Kaiba Corp, known for its research, achieved such a breakthrough. This shatters the academic claim that Black Luster Soldier had reached its full potential. Thanks for the praise, but this time it wasn't our achievement. Mokuba smiled, gesturing at Kira. Black Luster Soldier chose him. On the contrary, as you said, it's thanks to him we achieved these results. Tenma was surprised, looking at Kira again. He squinted. Kira noticed he seemed to be looking at something behind him. Kira turned to look and saw, after the duel, Black Luster Soldier had returned to spirit form, standing behind him like a bodyguard, hand on sword. Kira realized something, you can see him. Yet. My spirit affinity is pretty high. Tenma smiled. No wonder you have such power, you're a chosen duelist too. As a former god card holder, it was natural Tenma's spirit affinity was high. Strong spirits are a duelist's asset, but top duelists are equally a spirit's blessing. Tenma closed his eyes and laughed softly. I lost, nothing more to say. In fact. He paused, looking at Kira and the Black Luster Soldier behind him. That form of Black Luster Soldier didn't show all its power, did it? The card professors were all startled. Even now, that wasn't its full power? From what they'd seen, Black Luster Soldier had displayed overwhelming dominance. Mr. Tenma, you're sharp, Kira admitted. That's true. The two nights, Beginning and Twilight, grant Black Luster Soldier even more effects. If both are used as materials, Black Luster Soldier can use Dimensional Slash twice per turn, banishing two monsters. Or choose after destroying a monster by battle, gain an extra attack or banish a hand card until end of next turn. So not only did the vanilla get effects, it got multiple, rich abilities. In practice, it's easy to make your opponent feel your card doesn't say this, but you just do whatever you want. Indeed. It's a pity I couldn't see the rest. I hope I'll have the chance next time. Tenma smiled, then turned to the balcony above. So, what does President Kaiba think of this duel? Everyone followed his gaze and realized Seto Kaiba had silently appeared at the second-floor railing. Mokuba was delighted. Big brother. Kaiba said nothing, vaulted the railing, and landed in a crouch. Kira's first thought, that's gotta be hard on the knees. Then, that's too high for a human. Did you take super soldier serum or something, President? Can I have some too? Mokuba quickly ran over. Kaiba strode forward, arms crossed, and met Tenma's gaze. After several seconds, Tenma broke the silence. I've always wanted to say this. Tenma spoke softly. I'm sorry for what happened in the past, President Kaiba. Kaiba looked at him briefly, then turned away. Some card professors, annoyed by the apparent snub, wanted to speak, but Tenma's glare stopped them. Kaiba walked a few steps, then stopped, speaking without turning. At least you're a duelist, he said. If you're a duelist, get stronger, then challenge me head-on. He turned his head slightly, with a confident, cold smile. Of course, I just wonder if you still have the guts now. Tenma paused, then smiled too. I understand. He said seriously. That's a duelist's promise. Humph. Kaiba didn't look back, now facing Kira. Kira was amazing today, first against the card professors in the link system, then that duel just now. Mokuba quickly complimented. And he only just got the new Black Luster Soldier card today, and already used it so skillfully, right, brother? Kaiba didn't speak, but his eyes showed a hint of approval. It hadn't been long since he'd last seen Kira, but in such a short time, his progress was remarkable. His craving for duels was starting again. Battle City. Don't disappoint me, Kaiba reminded. Don't let me down. Of course, Kira nodded. Assuming I have the resources. By the way, President, I remembered something, Kira said. I've loved duel monsters since I was a kid, not just dueling but discovering new monsters, card design, research, all that. Recently, my teachers noticed my talent and are encouraging me. With the Academy's support, I'm setting up a lab. Get to the point. Kaiba cut him off. So Kira went straight to the point, we need money. So honest. No pretense. He'd looked up Kaiba Corp before coming. He knew President Kaiba heavily promoted dual monsters R&D, with many research teams and lots of investment. Many labs and private teams had received Kaiba Corp funding. He'd even set up a special fund for promising dual monsters research. Now that Kira had set up a small lab, he was a fledgling research team. Kaiba's investment was just a word away. Sure enough, Kaiba was not annoyed but rather approving. It seemed he respected that. After all, Kaiba always believed in scientific card creation. That's how he got his fleet of Blue Eyes variants. For Kaiba, this was a trivial matter, so he agreed without hesitation. Fine. Chapter 150, Did I say something I shouldn't have? Although Tenma was originally introduced as a villain in the original series, Kira's first impression of him in person was pretty good. He was polite and courteous, and most importantly generous. After their duel, Tenma didn't hesitate or waste time. He simply handed over a limited edition, ultra-rare card personally recreated by Pegasus, Thousand Eyes Restrict. This card was a legendary monster. Not only was it the ace of the very first story arc's boss in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, but the sense of mystery and pressure it brought when Pegasus first used it had a huge influence on later villain monsters. From a card pool perspective, this was the first fusion monster in history to be banned, spending a whole decade in the Forbidden Room until it was finally released in 2016. Its effect, which let it absorb opponents' monsters as equip cards, was also, in a sense, the prototype for many future monsters with similar abilities. Overall, Kira was quite pleased with this haul. Kaiba Corp and Tenma Yako had also temporarily formed an anti-hacker alliance. Tenma suspected the incident was caused by an AI far ahead of its time. Kaiba Corp was skeptical, but after discussion, both sides decided to cooperate and form a united front against the AI. Of course, the bigwigs would handle that part. Having finished his duel and received his reward, Kira boarded a helicopter arranged by Mokuba and flew straight back to the academy. By the time he returned, it was already late at night. Tired from the day's dueling and with class early the next morning, Kira just washed up and went to bed. And so he returned to his routine of diligent study and joyful dueling at Duel Academy. This trip to Kaiba Corp only reinforced his belief that his current approach to school and life was working. His duel with Tenma made him realize that his time at the academy so far had not been wasted. As a duelist and in terms of deck strength, his growth was visible to the naked eye. But the more he improved, the more he realized the road ahead was long, and there was still plenty of room for growth. If he wanted to reach the top and become one of the elite, there was still a long way to go. As Kira focused on his studies and training, things were developing at the academy as well. In the past 2 days, he'd heard people mention that Chaz Princeton seemed to have gone missing. It looked like the timeline was converging, even if the process was different, Chaz was still heading down a similar path of growth. The poor kid was elite for the first half of his life, but since coming to Duel Academy, he'd been getting beaten up so much that he'd become withdrawn. The students who used to respect him became increasingly cold as his reputation with the professors plummeted. Chaz, furious, went to see Professor Crowlier, trying to request a rematch with Jaden to restore his honor, but the professor refused. The reason: if you go, you'll just lose again. Instead of worrying about challenging a dropout, you should focus on your grades. At this rate, you'll be sent down to the RA Yellow dorm. This news hit Chaz like a bolt from the blue. Falling to RA Yellow? Him a top elite? He couldn't accept it. The next day, Chaz was nowhere to be found. When Kira heard, he figured Chaz had probably taken a boat off the island. He'd likely encounter a shipwreck, wash up at the northern branch of Duel Academy, and there, his fate would be further disrupted by a mischievous spirit. Yep, that's how the timeline converges. This was bound to happen. Had nothing to do with him. Meanwhile, Jaden was as enthusiastic as ever. Hearing that Chaz was missing, he ran around the nearby forest searching. Partway through, he ran into a monkey wearing a duel disc. Amazed to discover he could duel with the monkey, Jaden promptly forgot about his missing friend and started an enjoyable duel instead. The anime said the Duel Academy Island had a research institute devoted to whether monkeys have greater spirit affinity than humans. So the researchers' main job was teaching monkeys to play duel monsters. You'd never imagine what strange facilities are hidden on this island. Kira's daily routine was now classes, card printing, and spending his free time in his lab with colleagues, learning and doing research. He even roped in Lyman as a supervising teacher. He was also focused on card draw practice. He felt his luck and technique had noticeably improved since entering the academy. Drawing cards was also part of the duelist's bond with their deck and spirits. Of course, just practicing against the wall was all theory. Real duels were essential. So Kira scheduled at least one real duel per day as part of his training. But there was a small problem with finding sparring partners. His first choice was the duel club, since that's what the club was for. But as he kept showing up for duels every day, something strange happened. Whenever he found an opponent to duel, a crowd would immediately gather, pointing and laughing, like spectators at a street performance. The atmosphere was light and cheerful. But every time Kira's opponent put on the mask of despair and got flattened, and Kira, satisfied with his daily training, turned to find his next victim, a worthy opponent, the crowd would vanish in a flash. Soup to tend, girlfriend calling, laundry to fold, everyone would disappear in the blink of an eye. Kira started to reflect. Maybe it wasn't right to keep picking on the same batch of sheep. Maybe he should expand his pool of targets. One day, during his daily lab work, he chatted about this with 2 colleagues. These new students at the academy. I don't even know what they're here for. Kira shook his head. If they don't want to duel, why come to Duel Academy? Not motivated at all. Misawa and Alexis exchanged glances. To be honest, they felt Kira made a good point, but at the same time, if he was the opponent, they couldn't blame people for not wanting to duel him. But actually, it doesn't have to be the duel club, Alexis said. This is Duel Academy. There are lots of clubs, but most of them are open to any challenge. For example, the tennis club had an internal tournament last week. Oh, and I heard the student council had an internal competition too. Their rare card stash is pretty impressive, and their extra credits and management privileges are higher than other clubs. Kira sprang to his feet, startling her. What's up? Alexis, you're a genius, he said seriously. Alexis. Am I? He'd suddenly become so serious, that she felt a little embarrassed. And not really. But Kira ignored her, already packing up his things. By the way, where's the student council office? Are they recruiting? It's on the second floor of the classroom building, left side there's a sign, Misawa replied, his expression a bit odd. Thanks. I've got something to do, so I'll head out. Kira smiled at them. See you tomorrow. His figure disappeared out the door. Misawa and Alexis exchanged glances again. Suddenly, Alexis had a strange feeling. Did I just say something I shouldn't have?
Thanks for listening.